the boy who makes his own urban legends. The time had already passed midnight, and liquid splattered over it. As Qian Yubai looked at Mr. Chang, his head was gone. Yuan Shinji at a distance watched her from the sofa, and Mr. Chang dropped to the ground. "President?" Qian Yubai said. "Look behind you," Yuan Shinji replied, as three ghosts stared at them silently. "Huh? Why is there a little girl?" Qian Yubai asked. "This powerful Mr. Chang," Yuan Shinji explained, "long ago killed his eldest daughter under the pretense of an accident. He buried half of her body in a hidden location and mixed the ashes of the other half to create a golden toad for attracting wealth. After getting involved in illegal activities, he hired someone to hit and kill his wife and child. His wife died, but his son was still barely alive. He smothered his son and hid him in the attic as part of a wealth-attracting spell. Every day, he had to repeat the spell on the corpse. In order to make 3 spells to protect his fortune, he used the spell his mother taught him. Mr. Chang teamed up with his own mother to kill his wife and children. But isn't he bankrupt already? Qian Yubai asked. Therefore, Yuan Shinji replied, he wanted to find a spirit medium whose birth chart is compatible, that is, a wild inspector. Qian Yubai was shocked. The so-called compatible birth chart means it matches the wife's birth chart, and they both possess a certain amount of spiritual power in their bodies. His purpose was never to get rid of the resentful spirits. Instead, it was to use your destiny to weaken the spirit's power during specific periods, allowing him to continue using it to attract wealth. It was his mother who helped him through it all. Qian Yubai, confused and shocked, said, "The fortune teller?" "Yeah." Yuan Shinji said, "So don't the mother and son deserve to die?" He gently touched Qian Yubai's chin. Qian Yubai trembled. President, all right, now it's your turn. I'm letting you go after killing him and the fortune teller to fulfill your revenge. You better behave yourselves now, and maybe you'll have a chance to be reincarnated." The ghost began to vanish slowly. The boy ghost suddenly ran toward Qian Yubai and said, "Sister, sister, again." As he was about to touch her, Yuan Shinji suddenly looked at the boy seriously and extended his arm, using his power to make the ghost vanish and blast away. Qian Yubai looked back and Yuan Shinji asked, "Are you all right? Don't worry. I won't let anyone touch a hair on your head." I'm fine," Qian Yubai replied. "So they've already transcended?" Yuan Shinji kicked Mr. Chang's head and it ricocheted around the room. "Why are you asking that? You don't believe me? Are you asking if I killed them?" The head went into the bin. Yuan Shinji walked away. "But they're already long dead, aren't they?" He smirked and said to himself, "A mere vengeful spirit." However, this feeling of being completely filled with love is really interesting. That Cupid. As Yuan Shinji held the door, Qian Yubai looked at him silently. She thought to herself, the president wasn't such an extremely possessive person before. A small, harmless spirit shouldn't arouse his killing thoughts like that, and I can't possibly make him have such a strong obsession or possessive desire. Qian Yubai walked toward Yuan Shinji and said, "President, it's late. Can you take me home?" "Yeah, but I have one more thing to do," Yuan Shinji replied. Qian Yubai grabbed his arm. "Okay, I'll wait for you." She thought to herself, the president must have been affected by a monster and hasn't developed any feelings for me at all. But I can't provoke him now. I can only take one step at a time and look for opportunities to contact the special department. Yuan Shinji snapped his fingers, and Mr. Chang's mansion exploded. As they walked away, the mansion burned, and Yuan Shinji said, "By the way, little Bai, you've been close to Yuan Bo lately, haven't you?" Qian Yubai was shocked. "Not really. It's just that she's the one who gets the missions for me." Yuan Shinji said, "But I've noticed that you've been chatting together a lot." He thought to himself, little Bai is actually helping Yuan Bo? I won't allow it. The one closest to her can only be me. As a friend, how could she let you take on such a dangerous mission? Yuan Bo isn't a good person, so cut off all contact with her. If you want to continue taking on missions of exorcising spirits, you just have to tag along with me, right? Qian Yubai hesitated. She thought to herself, hold on, I can't expose myself. For now, I have to obey the president in everything. She took out her phone, thinking, otherwise, Yuan Bo is likely to be killed by the current president. She deleted the contact for teacher Yuan Bo. That's a relief, Yuan Shinji said. Shall I walk you home? Qian Yubai rested her head on Yuan Shinji's shoulder. Of course. She thought to herself, the look in the president's eyes just now. He really wanted to kill Yuan Bo. Besides, how did he know that Yuan Bo and I often chat and have become friends? Inside her room, she hid beneath the sheets thinking to herself, what should I do now? Should I tell Yuan Bo and let her contact the special department? Qian Yubai paced her room. her thoughts racing. I'm afraid it's not possible. The president already knows I've been in close contact with Yuan Bo. That means he must have ways to monitor me. She glanced around uneasily. Could he have already? Is my room under surveillance? The thought made her uneasy, but she shook it off. No, I hope that's not the case. The president has his own rules to follow and other matters to deal with. Taking a deep breath, she checked her phone and found the contact labeled Miss Sherry. She recalled the special department psychologist Sherry's reassuring words. Hello, I live next door. If you need anything, you can come to me. Phew, Qian Yubai, be brave. You must get me out of the monster's eye influence. From the ceiling, Little Eyes Xiaoyan observed Qian Yubai silently. He gently closed his eyes, and the room fell into stillness. 7:30 a.m. Yuan Shinji leaned against the kitchen counter, murmuring, What is Little Bai doing right now? Making lunch? Who is she making it for? Little Eyes Xiaoyan stared at Yuan Shinji, unamused and silent. Suddenly, Xiao Jun dashed into the room, startling them both. Xiao Ai entered shortly after, her tone calm but focused. Master, regarding the Ryui train currently. Yuan Shinji interrupted her. Xiao Ai, can you tell what Qian Yubai is thinking? Xiao Ai shook her head. Sorry, Master, I don't have that ability. There's no way to know what's on her mind. Fine, you may leave, Yuan Shinji replied, waving her off. As Xiao Ai turned to leave, Xiao Shun clutched Little Eyes Xiaoyan tightly. Xiao Ai hesitated, looking back. Is there something you'd like to tell me? She asked, puzzled. Xiao Jun smiled eerily and scribbled on a piece of paper resting on Little Eyes Xiaoyan's head. The message read, He seems like he's going to die. Can we eat him? Xiao Ai's eyes widened in shock. Little Eyes Xiaoyan tilted his head, confused. Mom. Elsewhere, Qian Yubai carried a bag of gifts as she rode the escalator, her expression tense. Stay alert, Qian Yubai. Don't show any fear, or the president might catch on. She reached Yuan Shinji's apartment, exhaling softly before knocking on the door. But before her knuckles touched the wood, the door swung open. Little Bai, you're here? Yuan Shinji greeted her with a calm smile. She replied brightly. Shinji, I brought you lunch, made it myself. For me? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Qian Yubai handed over the neatly wrapped package. Oh, and I made cookies too. One bag is for you and the other. Well, I made too much, so I thought I'd give them to Miss Sherry next door. She's helped us a lot before, and since you're neighbors, I thought it'd be nice to show some appreciation. Yuan Shinji's expression darkened slightly, but he nodded. All right, but next time you can only give them to me. Of course, Qian Yubai agreed cheerfully, then headed next door. Knocking lightly, she called out, Sister Sherry, are you home? It's Qian Yubai. From inside, Yuan Shinji watched her, his gaze sharp and calculating. How could I forget there's someone from the special department living next door? He placed Little Eyes Xiaoyan against the wall. Go, keep an eye on them. Little Eyes Xiaoyan squeaked, yeah, before disappearing. The door opened, revealing Sherry, sweating lightly from exercise. Aya, it's really you. It's been a while. Qian Yubai smiled, handing over the cookies. I made too many, so I thought I'd share. Thanks again for all your help before. Sherry beamed. Come in for tea? Thank you, but the president and I have some things to do. See you later, Qian Yubai replied, quickly stepping away. As Sherry closed the door, Yuan Shinji peered through a crack. Inside, Sherry opened the bag and examined the cookies. Wow, these look exquisite, she muttered, but as she took a bite, her expression darkened. Something's wrong. With Yuan Shinji. At Jiang City University, a fat student called out, Teacher Sherry. His friend said, Hello, Teacher Sherry. Teacher Sherry greeted them, Hello to you all. She walked past them seriously and silently. As the fat student's friend observed, Teacher Sherry seemed so happy to see me. Teacher Sherry thought to herself, this is serious. The problem with Ghost must be very serious. Otherwise, Shadow wouldn't have conveyed the message to me in that way. She placed her soft hands into a scanner and murmured to herself. In fact, it felt like we were being watched by Mr. Ghost. The situation needed to be reported. She entered the meeting room. Inside the room, Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping spoke. Everyone has seen the message. The inspector, Ghost, is suspected to be trapped under the influence of some monster. According to the report from his team member, Shadow, Ghost's behavior and psychology have been altered significantly. The changes were abrupt and abnormal, with no prior warning or psychological breakdown. This doesn't align with the usual process of an inspector's corruption, based on the city surveillance reports retrieved by the public. Security Department, Ghost has committed multiple violent crimes. The clues we've gathered suggest that all of these cases point to one person, Shadow, the one who reported this case. Shadow mentioned that Ghost's attitude toward her changed in a very strange way. Ghost developed an unhealthy possessiveness, a desire for control, and an urge to monitor Shadow. As the others listened, an old man said, without any prior warning, additionally, Ghost now exhibits an impulse to harm or kill anyone associated with Shadow. How could this happen? We've always kept a close eye on Ghost. Has he really fallen under some monster's influence? Jiang City Special Department's Section Chief, Kang Ping, responded. I'm afraid so. Qing Ji, please continue. Chief Qing Ji said, according to Shadow's report and surveillance data from the Public Security Department, Ghost's abnormal behavior is specifically characterized by a sudden desire for control and a strong urge to destroy. However, Qing Ji continued, Ghost still seems to retain a faint sense of control. Another member asked, are you saying that Ghost is still conscious and resisting the monster's influence? Chief Qing Ji nodded. This is what we have confirmed after careful consideration. If he had already been completely consumed by the monster's influence, Shadow's reckless behavior wouldn't have allowed her to stay alive. Moreover, the violent incidents would have escalated into murder cases by now. She sighed in frustration and continued, we are still investigating the specific nature of this monster's influence. However, I believe this monster is, at minimum, at a catastrophic level. Apart from Ghost, Shadow's spiritual power is estimated to be at the 3rd level, and 2nd-level professionals are unable to detect her spiritual power. She continued, describing the hierarchy of monsters. Tyrannical level monster, no matter how good or evil the target is. Encountering this kind of monster triggers unavoidable chaos. Catastrophic level monster, the spread of this monster's influence is extremely rapid, and the affected area will suffer unpredictable and massive damage, though the scope of the impact is limited. Disastrous level monster, this type of monster has a more restricted influence, with less impact, but once entangled with it, one will continue to experience bad luck. Chief Qing Ji said, it is still unclear whether Shadow has fallen under that monster's influence. If she has, we will elevate the level of this monster investigation. Any monster that can trap 2 3rd-level spiritual power inspectors in its influence must be contained as soon as possible. Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping added, actually, if I'm not mistaken, Ghost took the initiative to actively intervene with the Ryu train, which led to him being trapped under some monster's rule. The intellectual members were shocked. Intellectual Circle member Mr. Xiang exclaimed, what? Tianya said, this doesn't make sense. An old lady asked, Mr. Ghost, he. An emotional man said, why? Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping adjusted his glasses and said, according to the report from the psychological team member Sherry, when Ghost fought against the evil neighbor, he fell into an endless loop. Although the treatment was successful, there is still a subconscious desire for death. Mr. Xiang, when you asked Ghost for help back then, didn't he agree quite easily? Intellectual Circle member Mr. Xiang said, you're right. When he knew that the hospital was affected by a monster, any ordinary inspector would have given up long ago. At most, they would have reported the situation to the special department. Another member said, with Ghost's physical abilities, if he hadn't deliberately intervened, he would never have fallen into the rules of the human body hospital. Chief Qing Ji responded, Ghost's psychological conflict is complex. While he despises monsters, he also has a desire for death. At the same time, he has a strong will to survive and has never given up the struggle. I believe that the special department should not give up on or punish Ghost because of his current actions. What are your opinions on this? Intellectual Circle member Mr. Xiang and an elderly lady member remained silent. Mr. Xiang then spoke. Ghost chose to become a team inspector because he wanted to keep a low profile and avoid too much attention. But his abilities and achievements are clear to everyone, making him truly impressive and admirable. The elderly lady added, for this hopeless world, such a powerful inspector is a treasure. Even if some things he has done might seem excessive, we suggest turning a blind eye to it. Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, yes, within such a short period of time, he has investigated multiple monster incidents. He has even used the power of other monsters to limit the spread of monsters. Such abilities make him the ideal candidate to take over as the head of the special department. The most important thing is that, although his abilities have caused him psychological issues, he is a death substitution specialist, which is extremely rare in all countries. Given this, Ghost must be saved. Tianya said, but don't you think it's quite a coincidence? Chief Qing Ji asked, what do you mean? Tianya replied, before Ghost became an inspector, didn't you investigate his involvement with It's Your Turn? After that, the special department couldn't investigate the monster It's Your Turn at all. Don't you think his luck is sometimes too bad? yet at other times it's just too good. Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "Your suspicion is not unreasonable, but don't cast suspicion with ill intent on an inspector who has contributed to mankind." Tianye said, "Yes, Ghost has already fallen into confusion in terms of cognition, thinking, and emotions. Our decision is to wait until tonight. When Ghost is alone at home, we'll have a death row inmate use the rule-bound equipment death record." Jiang City's Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "We will send someone to talk with Ghost and have the psychology team eavesdrop on the conversation. If Ghost recovers, we will then have a video conference with him later today to understand the situation. If Ghost doesn't, I'll convene another meeting. In the meantime, please don't let your guard down and think about what to do if the worst-case scenario occurs." As Jiang City's Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping left, the intellectual members stood up and bowed to him, saying, "Yes." In another scene, Yuan Shinji was at the sink. Cough. He trembled in pain and coughed violently, green liquid spilling from his mouth. He looked at his trembling hand, silently staring at it. He then punched the mirror, shattering it. He took a shard of the glass and said, "Hee." He began to cut at his pretty face, murmuring, "I can feel it. Little Bai seems to be very scared of seeing my face." In his memory, Qian Yubai's voice echoed, "President." Yuan Shinji replied, "If that's the case, I might just have to kill her myself." Suddenly, he was shocked and dropped to the floor. 1 minute later, Yuan Shinji sat up and asked himself, "What's going on?" The notebook displayed, remaining lifespan, days. Yuan Shinji's head throbbed in pain, and Yuan Shinji said to himself, I can feel it. I didn't die because of Cupid's rules. It's because of something else or another monster." Suddenly, his phone rang. He answered it and said, "Hello?" Chief Qingji's voice came through. "Ghost, this is Qingji. Based on the surveillance data from Jiang City's report, the Special Department has confirmed you have fallen under the rule of some monster." Yuan Shinji asked, "Did the Special Department use rule-bound equipment to kill me?" Chief Qingji replied, "Yes, this was done to help you regain your senses and allow you to communicate with us. We're using the latest equipment." "Perhaps I should apologize?" Yuan Shinji responded with a laugh. "Haha, it's fine. I should still thank you all. Otherwise, I would have truly killed someone." Chief Qingji said, "The department chief and the intellectual circle would like to have a meeting with you now." Yuan Shinji said, "All right." Yuan Shinji sat on his sofa and opened the communication hologram. The intellectual circle stood up and said, "Mr. Ghost, Jiang City Special Department." Section Chief Kang Ping said, "Based on our analysis, you are currently trapped in one of the rules related to cognition, thinking, or emotions. Now that you've regained clarity, please specifically explain what the situation is." Yuan Shinji replied, "It's emotions, I think. The affection for Shadow in my mind was infinitely magnified, becoming twisted and sick. It drove away all other thoughts. All my thoughts and actions revolved around Shadow. I didn't care about anything else. I could clearly and consciously understand that I was trapped in the rules of a monster, but I only felt happiness and excitement. To put it simply, I was controlled by love, completely blinded by it. So, you must have also investigated and clarified some other details, right? Why do the rules only take effect when I see Shadow? Is there some pattern to it?" Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, You guessed it right." Intellectual Circle member Mr. Chang said, "Maybe you haven't noticed, Mr. Ghost, but you and Shadow share the same birthday, September 29th. It's accurate even to the day, without involving specific birth charts or any other details." Yuan Shinji thought to himself, "I see. So that's why I didn't fall into the rules after seeing that girl on the train. The rules of the fallen Cupid weren't that overpowering then. So, if I see Qian Yubai again, will I fall into the rules once more?" He pressed his chest, deep in thought. Intellectual Circle member Mr. Xiang adjusted his eyeglasses and said, "Mr. Ghost, there is one more thing we haven't confirmed, and that is whether the rules only apply to individuals of the opposite sex who share the same birthday as you. It's also possible that the rules could be triggered by someone of the same sex." Yuan Shinji silently sweated and listened. Wait, since they've already investigated my movements through surveillance then, he realized, do they already know that I boarded the Ryu train? Intellectual Circle member Mr. Xiang said, "By the way, you, Mr. Ghost, the Special Department has already investigated and found that you accidentally fell into the rules of the monsters on the Ryu train. Therefore, we hope you can tell us what kind of monster you encountered on the Ryu train. We might be able to check the Special Department's records on monsters and filter out those related to emotions to find out the other rules as soon as possible." If it's a monster not recorded globally, we can also infer it through its appearance and behavior, which is a method we commonly use. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, this attitude. Is the special department acting as if they don't know I took the initiative to board the Ryu train? I didn't expect that the special department's goodwill towards me had reached this level. They haven't even given me any warning about the problems I've caused these past few days. Yuan Shinji said, it's a Cupid. Tianye raised his hand and asked, Cupid, could you go into more detail? I have studied art before. Yuan Shinji said, it was similar to the Cupid in mythology, the difference being that Cupid's pupils and the color of its bow and arrows are black, and there are several cracks on its body. As Tianye began to sketch on his paper, he said, all right, I see. After being struck by its bow and falling into its rules, your emotions and feelings toward love became infinitely magnified and twisted. But it's not fatal? Yuan Shinji replied, no, I only started coughing black turbid blood, but I haven't found a way to avoid death. It's very likely that I'll die in a few days. Chief Qingji said, this. Yuan Shinji said, and even though I'm back to normal now, free of the Ryu train rules, I haven't escaped Cupid's rules. The members were shocked into silence. Yuan Shinji looked at them and said, yes, the effect of Cupid's arrow hasn't faded, so I'm just temporarily sober. Please, everyone, think of a solution as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will continue coughing blood and will eventually die. This is detrimental to both me and everyone else. Jiang City Special Department, Section Chief Kang Ping looked at him seriously and asked, is it because of the heart? Yuan Shinji replied, exactly. The first day, there was only a feeling of irritability and physical discomfort. It wasn't until nighttime that the first cough appeared, spewing out a small amount of murky black blood. By the second day, my condition worsened drastically. Every hour, I would cough up blood, accompanied by severe chest pain. During that time, I could clearly feel the strength and life being drained out of me. By the third day, it had reached the point where I was coughing up blood every 10 minutes. Yuan Shinji stood over the sink, coughing violently. Cough, cough, he muttered weakly. Then, pausing, he said with determination, it's about time. He pulled out his phone as it started ringing. It was Chief Qingji. Yuan Shinji answered the call. Hello, he said hoarsely. On the other end, Chief Qingji said urgently, Ghost, I finally have news for you. Switching to her computer, she clicked on the button to start a video call. As the screen lit up, her expression turned to shock. So this is how the past 72 hours have been going? Yuan Shinji nodded, his voice tired but steady. Judging by the timeline, if no suitable candidate is found within 24 hours, the symptoms progress rapidly. By the first day, the coughing stage begins. By the second day, it worsens to coughing once an hour. By the third day, it's once every 10 minutes. At this point, I'm already close to dying. Chief Qingji broke into a nervous sweat, her silence revealing her concern. Finally, she asked, got it. So, are you ready to proceed with the second phase of the experiment now? Yuan Shinji coughed again, his voice heavy with fatigue. All right. The first phase of the experiment is about to end. Once I recover, I'll move directly to the second phase. Chief Qingji nodded. Understood. I'll send you the list of candidates and their profiles right away. You can make your selection. Suddenly, Yuan Shinji winced in pain, clutching his chest. Ugh, he groaned. Chief Qingzi's eyes widened in alarm as she watched him collapse onto the sofa through the video feed. She took out a watch and started it, as Yuan Shinji dead on the sofa. As he closed his eyes, he suddenly transforms to a more healthier body. Moments later, a faint glow emanated from a pendant around his neck. Yuan Shinji's body went still, his breathing shallow. The pendant began to speak in a soft, ethereal voice, unlocking one of the fallen Cupid's rules. 1 day apart feels like 3 autumns. 3 days apart, and the heart aches as if torn apart. Soul restored. Remaining lifespan, 99 days. Yuan Shinji's fingers twitched as his eyes slowly opened. Chief Qingji, staring intently at the timer on her desk, muttered, 1 minute, are you alive? Yuan Shinji sat up, his movements deliberate. Let's begin the next phase, he said, his voice calm yet resolute. Chief Qingji pretended to type on her computer, speaking as she worked. This is the list compiled by the Intellectual Circle. These 4 are the most suitable candidates. Don't worry, they've carefully selected the best options for you. No criminals, I promise. She paused before adding, if you're interested, click on their profiles for personal information. Yuan Shinji glanced at the 4 profiles displayed on his screen. Strange, he muttered to himself. They all look eerily similar. No, it's more like they all resemble one person. After a moment, he addressed Chief Qingji. Look, I don't want to casually decide someone's life or death. You can make the choice. Just make sure the candidate has at least some ability to defend themselves. When the love in my heart gets twisted and magnified, violence becomes uncontrollable. If it weren't for my subconscious resistance last time, Shadow and even her family would have been killed by me. Chief Ching-ji nodded thoughtfully. All right, I respect your opinion. I'll select someone. She'll arrive in about half an hour. Wait, Yuan Shinji interjected. Make sure she brings surveillance equipment with her. That way you can monitor everything between us. If I were to lose control and harm her, there might still be a chance to intervene. Half an hour later, Yuan Shinji, Xiao Ai, Little Eyes Xiao Yan, and Xiao Shun were seated around the dining table when a knock sounded at the door. Excuse me, is anyone home? A voice called out. Little Eyes Xiao Yan perked up. Yeah. Yuan Shinji stood and muttered to himself. She's certainly quick. I almost thought it was Qian Yubai again. As the knocking continued, Yuan Shinji opened the door to find a young woman standing there. He stared at her intensely, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. His grip on the doorframe tightened, causing the wood to crack slightly under his strength. The woman gasped in surprise. Ah! She quickly composed herself and said, Hello, Mr. Yuan, I'm Lin Yu. You can call me Lin Yu or Xiao Yu, either is fine. Her cheeks flushed as she shyly added to herself, Miss Yuan is even more stunning in person than in the photos. Yuan Shinji gave her a curt nod. Hello, Xiao Yu, he replied evenly. Meanwhile, in the Jiang City Special Department surveillance room, Section Chief Kang Ping turned to Chief Ching-ji. How is it going? Chief Ching-ji, staring at the live feed, responded thoughtfully. According to the surveillance, Ghost fell into the rules the moment he saw Lin Yu. His behavior and attitude towards her are already very different from his usual demeanor. Moreover, Yuan Shinji soon discovered the invisible surveillance he had initially requested and destroyed it. Despite his actions, he made sure not to damage roads or other public surveillance facilities. As Yuan Shinji grabbed Lin Yu by the wrist, she let out a startled yelp. Yikes! Mr. Yuan. Meanwhile, Chief Ching-ji observed the scene and commented, However, he's showing remarkable restraint. He didn't damage any public infrastructure. That's interesting. Huarong Street, Zone Chief Ching-ji continued. I'm not sure if this is a sign of some kind of intellectual or logical disorder. In the Jiang City Special Department, Section Chief Kang Ping responded, All right, I'll leave this to you. After this surveillance cycle is over, you'll join me in investigating the Ryu train. The U.S. Secret Service recently identified a rule prop that might be able to restrict it. He added, An international conference has just concluded, and the prop will be delivered to Jiang City in the coming days. We need to speed up progress on Ghost Cupid case so we can focus fully on the Ryu train. Chief Ching-ji asked, The source of the Ryu train, has it been confirmed to be in Jiang City? Section Chief Kang Ping replied, That's correct. Let's hope everything proceeds without unexpected incidents. Chief Ching-ji frowned and said, But with such a monster, the chances of successfully containing it are slim, probably around 9 out of 10. She continued, I'll keep monitoring Ghost's condition over the next few days. After that, we'll hand it over to the Intellectual Circle or Hong Yin. But even they might not be able to speed things up or help Ghost break free from Cupid's rules. Section Chief Kang Ping nodded thoughtfully. As the tests progress, Ghost will learn more about the rules. Let's stay in close contact. Yuan Shinji and Lin Yu as a woman escorted Yuan Shinji and Lin Yu to a private room. She greeted them politely. Welcome, please head to the second floor. Chief Ching-ji watched the live feed and remarked, Who knows? He might come up with a solution on his own. Still, I can't shake the feeling that the test subject you chose might not have enough experience. As the surveillance continued, Yuan Shinji gently fed Lin Yu. Chief Ching-ji mused, Is that so? Among the first-tier spiritual power users, she's the one who resembles Shadow the most. Second round of testing. Second day, Lin Yu hummed a cheerful tune while sweeping the floor of Yuan Shinji's living room. La, 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 she sang. Xiao Ai glanced at the clock and said, Time is almost up. Little Eyes Xiao Yan and Xiao Shun watched Lin Yu intently. Mom, a new dad? Little Eyes Xiao Yan asked innocently. Xiao Shun shot him a sharp glare. Confused, Little Eyes Xiao Yan muttered, Yeah? Without warning, Xiao Shun pinched Little Eyes Xiao Yan's cheeks hard. Wah! Little Eyes Xiao Yan cried out in pain, his face swollen. He ran off, his cheeks red and puffy. Xiao Shun scribbled a note on a piece of paper and showed it to Xiao Ai. The note read, He and this tasteless woman are going to get themselves killed. When do we make our move? Xiao Ai replied calmly, At the 1-minute mark. If you really want to give it a shot. They observed Yuan Shinji from a distance. Using her heightened senses, Xiao Ai said ominously, It will be tomorrow. Yuan Shinji's doubts as Yuan Shinji's pendant glowed faintly. He thought to himself, Xiao Yu is clearly great, and I'm very satisfied. But why do I feel so anxious? He looked at Lin Yu and said softly, Xiao Yu. Lin Yu paused, turning toward him. Shinji, what's wrong? How about I accompany you tomorrow to buy something you like? Yuan Shinji suggested. Really? You're so kind, Lin Yu exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. Yuan Shinji chuckled. Is that all it takes to make you happy? You're too easy to please. He gently touched her chin and added, For you, I'd do anything. Blushing, Lin Yu thought to herself, Mr. Ghost isn't scary at all. He's so gentle and considerate, taking care of me in every way. And with that domineering aura, his face and figure are just perfect. I really can't believe my luck. As she stepped closer to Yuan Shinji, her thoughts continued. As long as I can keep Mr. Ghost alive, I'll stay with him forever. Second round of testing. Third day at a mall fitting room. Lin Yu stepped out wearing a new dress and twirled. Shinji, I really like this one, she said brightly. Yuan Shinji stared at her and said flatly, No. Lin Yu blinked in confusion. No? What's wrong? Yuan Shinji pointed to another dress. Xiao Yu, I think this one suits you better. Let's buy the black and white one instead. Lin Yu frowned. Ah, that one? I don't like it, it's too old-fashioned. She pouted. I don't want it. Yuan Shinji's expression darkened. His voice turned cold. What did you just say? Are you rejecting me? Do you not like me? Lin Yu froze, her breath catching. No, I like you, Shinji. Please let me explain. Suddenly, Yuan Shinji's dark energy surged, and the air grew heavy. The two assistants, sensing the danger, tore off their disguises. One of them grabbed Lin Yu and shouted, If you don't want to die, run! Yuan Shinji glared at them, his voice echoing with rage. You betrayed me. If you don't like me, then let everything be destroyed, Lin Yu screamed in terror. Ah! Suddenly, a rift opened. Yuan Shinji silently observed as a fist emerged from the rift. Chief Qingji burst out shouting, Ghost! But Yuan Shinji managed to grab Chief Qingji's hand, creating shockwaves. Chief Qingji shouted, Hongyin, go! Hongyin quickly grabbed Lin Yu and the attendants, while Yuan Shinji stood behind Chief Qingji, his killer eyes fixed on him. Chief Qingji suddenly bent over and executed a somersault kick at Yuan Shinji, looking at him from below. Yuan Shinji narrowed his eyes and said, You, who are you? Sliding back, Chief Qingji replied, I'm the one who came to stop you. Yuan Shinji, his powerful demonic aura surging, scoffed, Delusions. Suddenly, he attacked Chief Qingji. Chief Qingji watched the incoming strike, grabbed it, and crushed it. Speaking into her mic, she said, Phase A of the second test is complete. Ghost cannot be awakened. Initiate the forced death protocol. She pressed the button. Suddenly, she felt a dark entity looming behind her, sending shivers down her spine. She dropped the device, gasping in pain. Ha! She panted, unable to control her own hands as they began choking her. Through strained breaths, she muttered, Ghost, your powers. Looking at Yuan Shinji, a chilling thought crossed her mind. Has he already surpassed me? She gritted her teeth, struggling. Calm down. They're still away. Yuan Shinji's eyes darkened. In that case, you die in her place. Suddenly, he snapped back into his senses and collapsed to the ground. Chief Qingji, also in pain, fell to her knees. Gah! Struggling to sit up, she gasped. Huff! She turned to face her superior. Chief, I'm very sorry. I underestimated Ghost's powers. When he lost control, I almost caused a disaster. Once again, I apologize for needing to use the rule. Jiang City's Special Department, Section Chief Kang Ping replied, It's no problem. The experiment with Ghost requires extensive preparation. This time, the accident was due to Lin Yu's mistake. Fortunately, a group of prisoners scheduled for execution was dispatched from the prison in time. If it had been anyone else, this could have been a disaster. Chief Qingji nodded. I understand. Ghost powers have grown stronger again. That's why I'm concerned. If we hand the Cupid case over to Hongyin and the intellectual circle after this, Section Chief Kang Ping responded, Once Ghost wakes up, we'll continue adjusting the plan. This incident was indeed unexpected. According to the original plan, you were supposed to evacuate quickly with the team, leaving Ghost to naturally enter Cupid's death cycle and restart. However, his condition still exceeded our expectations. As Chief Qingji walked toward the rift, Yuan Shinji vomited black liquid. A few moments later, Chief Qingji said, Once Ghost comes back to life, we'll inform him of the data from these past few days. Suddenly, Yuan Shinji stood up. No need to wait. I'm already awake. I heard some of what you were saying. Chief Ching-ji adjusted her glasses, activating a projection. All right, then let's begin the review. Section Chief Kong Ping spoke. We've contacted special departments abroad and found some clues regarding your behavior during this period. While you actively interacted with the test subject, you never initiated contract language. This confirms our previous deduction of the 3 stages: confession, dating, and marriage. Although you pursued and dated the test subject during the experiment, you never confessed. Therefore, we speculate that the contract language must be initiated by the other party. Yuan Shinji nodded thoughtfully. You're right. I didn't think about it thoroughly enough. No wonder I felt uneasy during the test, restless as time went on. Reading a message, he murmured, Cupid represents love, and love is not a one-sided endeavor. If it's not acknowledged, it's all in vain, ending in frustration and despair. A smirk formed on his lips. I see. Chief Ching-ji continued, yes, and this is also why you were still experiencing symptoms of coughing up blood during your pursuit of the test subject. Compared to the first time you accidentally fell into the rules, your physical and emotional condition is even more unstable now. Yuan Shinji sighed. Is there anything else? If not, we can proceed to the next stage of the test. That test subject was too unprofessional, refusing my request. Section Chief Kang Ping said, all right, but you might have to wait a little while. Yuan Shinji frowned. Why is that? The United States Bureau of Secrets will be transporting a rule item soon to test the restrictions on the Ryu train, Kang Ping explained. Both Ching-ji and I will be at the site, so the next stage of the test will be handed over to Hong Yin and the Intellectual Circle to coordinate with you. We need a little more time to prepare for any unexpected situations. Yuan Shinji's eyes lit up. Really? That's great. The Ryu train is of great importance, so naturally it takes priority. I've also made progress on Cupid's rules, so it might not be long before I can avoid the death rules altogether. Kang Ping nodded. Thank you for your understanding. The next day, at 6:50 in the morning, standing on the railroad tracks, Section Chief Kang Ping turned to Chief Ching-ji. Based on global surveillance, this fog only appears in Jiang City between 7 and 8 a.m., he stated. After that, it dissipates. Then, it reappears on random city tracks in other countries. The higher the crime rate in a city, the more likely the Ryu train is to appear there. Jiang City, having the highest crime rate, stands out significantly. From a distance, a voice called out, Dear Kang, hello! Jiang City Special Department, Section Chief Kang Ping replied, Hello, Chimeng. It was Deputy Director Shiming of the United States Bureau of Secrets. Deputy Director Shiming said, Chief Kang, this rule item has the ability to block humans, animals, cars, trains, and other moving objects. I believe it can perfectly restrain the movement of the Ryu train. Kang Ping nodded. Let's hope so. He thought to himself, in order to obtain this rule item from the Bureau of Secrets, the Special Department had to exchange 2 rule items. This was the result of intense negotiations. If it fails, the personnel from the United States Bureau of Secrets began setting up the biological barrier rule item at the railroad tracks. A few moments later, at exactly 7 o'clock, Shimeng glanced at his cheap watch as the Ryu train approached. Chief Ching-ji said, It's here. Kang Ping held his breath, thinking, will it work? At the zoo, an elephant roared, startling a man who exclaimed, Whoa, so big. Lin Yu, also startled, gasped, Whoa, as her body instinctively jolted. Yuan Shinji swiftly caught her and asked, Are you okay? Blushing, Lin Yu looked away. I'm fine, Yuan. Yuan Shinji gently touched her neck. But what's with that expression? Leaning closer, he whispered in her ear, Are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Lin Yu shivered as she sensed a dark energy emanating from him. No, it's just that the elephant suddenly made such a loud noise. I got startled. Yuan Shinji smirked. I see. Then just don't look at it. Lin Yu sighed in relief. Yuan Shinji asked, What do you want to see next? Wait a moment, Lin Yu replied as they continued walking ahead. Meanwhile, Chief Ching-ji reported, The progress between test subject Jiang Jimei and Ghost is about to reach the confession stage. Before the confession, Ghost's condition was worsening, showing early signs of anxiety and coughing up blood. However, the test subject is still able to control the situation. A man in a bear suit spoke into his radio. Big Bear surveillance shift, please respond, over. A woman in a revealing dress replied, 8 con received. Ching-ji continued her internal analysis. But the prognosis isn't good. Ghost's death curve is still rising. Lin Yu blushed, sweating as she held Yuan Shinji's hands and nervously asked, I like you. Will you go out with me? Yuan Shinji was shocked. He pulled Lin Yu into a tight embrace, pressing her soft body against his, and said, Of course. I'm very happy. Lin Yu steadied herself, thinking, stay calm. I've made it this far. She recalled the confidentiality agreement and the promised $1 million. The contract has been signed. It must be fulfilled. Suddenly, Yuan Shinji asked, but why are your hands so cold? Lin Yu flinched. He studied her trembling body. Your body, is it also cold? Just a little. It's fine, she replied. Yuan Shinji fell silent. Placing his hands on her shoulders, he said firmly, you're lying. Lin Yu trembled even more. Without warning, Yuan Shinji grabbed her, his expression turning serious. We're already in a relationship. Why are you still lying to me? Flustered, Lin Yu stuttered. I'm sorry. I know it's too fast, but I didn't want you to misunderstand. I was just thinking, when can we get married? She grabbed his hands and placed them between her cleavage. Yuan Shinji's eyes widened in shock. Get married? His thoughts raced. Isn't this a bit too fast? Lin Yu exhaled deeply. As a crow follows them, Lin Yu said, no way. Even though I just confessed, we've actually been dating for several days already. I really like you. I want to be with you, so why can't we talk about getting married? A mechanical crow perched nearby, watching them from a distance. Mr. Xiang observed through the crow's lens. Interesting. That's a new development. The crow's artificial eye locked onto Yuan Shinji and Lin Yu. In the conference room, Mr. Xiang leaned forward. It seems that marriage might actually be the way to avoid death. Another intellectual circle member nodded. The current effect is very obvious. Mr. Ghost has undergone a significant change. Hong Yin frowned. Really? I actually think, with the level of trouble this kid causes, wasn't that too easy? He clicked his tongue. Tisk, I hope it's just my imagination. The next day, at the registry office, a person in the crowd whispered, wow, what a handsome guy. A bald old man wrapped his arm around his young, attractive girlfriend and said, we finally don't have to hide anymore, darling. A gay man nudged his boyfriend. That guy looks a bit like me when I was younger. His boyfriend smirked. The girl's not bad either. They make a great match. Inside the studio, the photographer announced, now it's time for the newlyweds to take some photos. Lin Yu studied Yuan Shinji's face. This person is very good looking, but if things don't go his way, he gets ugly. He almost killed someone before. The studio photographer counted down. 3, 2, Lin Yu's thoughts raced. Marriage is not just about completing a task. It also requires continued cooperation with this person. 1. The camera clicked. The photo displayed Yuan Shinji's face, covered in a dark, eerie black substance. Lin Yu was shocked and shouted, ah, as Yuan Shinji fell to the ground. The crowd, gripped with fear, cried out, he's dead. Suddenly, Hong Yin appeared and said, hey there, please calm down for a bit. There's no need for panic here. Sorry for the trouble. This is just a new segment for our prank show. That man is a trained stuntman. The people murmured in confusion, what? Stuntman? Isn't he dead? Just now? Hong Yin shook his head. Not really. An officer commanded, Team A, retrieve the props and clear the stage. Another officer followed. Team B, clean up after our actors. Hong Yin turned to the onlookers and asked, are you interested in making an appearance? Your presence would make our editing even better. You'll be on TV, and we'll make sure to compensate you. A lady hesitated. Lin Yu was assisted away, sweat trickling down her face as she exited the room. Hong Yin glanced at her and muttered, are you still doubting me? He then whispered to himself before pointing at Yuan Shinji. If you don't believe me, why not look behind you? The crowd turned around, confusion settling in as they saw Yuan Shinji standing up, wiping blood from his mouth. Eh? Gasps and murmurs spread among them. What? Yuan Shinji adjusted his clothes and gave a small nod. Hong Yin saluted him. A few moments later, Yuan Shinji sighed and said to Hong Yin, that was another failure. Any ideas? Over the phone, Mr. Chang suggested, marriage should be the way to avoid death, but there might be other conditions we haven't met. Hong Yin clicked his tongue. Itch. Sounds like a pain. Yuan Shinji thought of Lin Yu and her perfect body before muttering, the feelings weren't genuine. Hong Yin leaned in and whispered, ha, so after all that time, none of them fell for you? Are you sure you're up for it, little ghost? Mr. Chang continued, right, Cupid's domain is romance, so if they were to marry and lack true feelings for each other, then Mr. Ghost will die. Though, I don't see how you can develop feelings for each other in such a short time. We'll have to resort to certain methods. Hong Yin smirked as an idea formed in his mind. Oh, I know. Yuan Shinji's expression darkened. You're not talking about the sex changer, right? Though that'll speed things up, but it loses power the moment I turn back. Unless I were to live the rest of my life as the opposite sex. Not to mention the effects that might have on my psyche. Hongyin fell into thought. Yuan Shinji locked eyes with him. If you're willing to be a volunteer. He placed a firm hand on Hongyin's shoulder, making him sweat nervously. Ahaha, good one. I don't even share the same birthday. Yuan Shinji smirked. I'd like to think it doesn't need to be love. Hongyin swallowed hard, glancing at Yuan Shinji's hand still gripping his shoulder. Yuan Shinji continued, even if you like a person just a little, no matter how small it is. Now that I think about it, I can sense my body's condition improving over the last 2 tests, and now my emotions can affect its state. Hongyin quickly shifted to the other end of the couch. Yuan Shinji mused, perhaps back then there were genuine sparks between us. All of that can change during the test. Lin Yu got ahead of herself and forgot the rules. Not to mention what she liked about me was purely superficial and wasn't acknowledged by Cupid. Zhang Jimei was trying to overcome her fear in order to accomplish this mission. Hongyin pondered. If that's the case, do we have to bring the little shadow over? Yuan Shinji frowned. Shadow? Why? Hongyin explained. The first time you had those sparks, it was with her, right? Yuan Shinji hesitated. Yes. Hongyin nodded. Not to mention, when you two were tested by the rules for the first time, your condition was more stable than before, right? Yuan Shinji furrowed his brows. Did we? I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Mr. Chang interjected. If it weren't for the special item being used on you, I suspect you could have lived for another week. I believe she may have genuine feelings for you, ever so slightly. Hongyin smirked. She tried to pass on a message to you out of concern, didn't she? Yuan Shinji scoffed. Isn't that just self-preservation? She's also my subordinate. We get along, but it's strictly professional. Hongyin grinned mischievously. In other words, will you fall for Qingji? And if you're Qingji, do you like Kang Ping in that way? Hongyin muttered under his breath. Is he crazy or stupid? Suddenly, Hongyin remembered something. Oh, right. We've successfully placed the restrictions on the Ruyu train. Yuan Shinji's grip tightened around his pendant. Is that so? He then placed his hand on Hongyin's shoulder again. Hongyin stiffened. That's certainly good news. Yeah, it took a lot of blood and sweat to make it work. Yuan Shinji muttered to himself, it's been stuck in a state of chaos since then. And they haven't noticed the restriction on the Ruyu train. Not to mention the 3 back home. Meanwhile, Xiao Ai, Little Eyes Xiao Yan, and a 4 waited anxiously. Little Eyes Xiao Yan shivered. Eek! Yuan Shinji clenched his fists. We'll have to resolve this Cupid matter as fast as possible. He stood up, exhaling deeply. Sigh. And to think I have to endure this Cupid mess. All right, I'll contact Shadow and see if she agrees. If she says no, then please look for another. Love-struck brain for me. At Qian Yubai's place, she silently bathed, her body glistening in the water. Her phone rang. She reached for it, pressing it to her ear. Hello? Yuan Shinji's voice came through the receiver. President, how are you doing? Qian Yubai female, 19 years old, 165 centimeters tall, current member of the Ghost Club codename, Shadow Specialized Tool, Coin of Destiny personality. Shy and lacking in self-confidence, afraid of causing trouble for others. However, her survival instincts bring out her inner courage. Ever since joining the Ghost Club, subtle changes have been observed in her character. Qian Yubai spoke while bathing in the bathtub. How are you doing, President? Yuan Shinji replied, I'm doing fine, but I'd like your help. Qian Yubai asked, is this about urban legends? Yuan Shinji confirmed, yes, the one we got you involved with, the fallen Cupid. You and I share the same birthday, so we were bound by the rules. After further testing, we've decided that we still need your help. Qian Yubai said enthusiastically, no problem, as long as you're the one asking. Yuan Shinji reassured her. The special department already ran their tests. As long as you listen to me, you'll be safe. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, we shouldn't tell Qian Yubai that the test requires genuine feelings to avoid death. Otherwise, we'd be giving her unnecessary stress, which could affect her survival rate. Qian Yubai nodded. All right, what do you need me to do? Yuan Shinji explained, same as last time. Once you see me, I'll take the same form as before. Next, you'll have to be the one to confess to me, then propose. Qian Yubai, confused and blushing, stammered, huh? Yuan Shinji added, of course I won't force you. You can refuse. Qian Yubai thought to herself, me, proposing to the president. She went silent, quivering her lips and trembling. Then, with full determination, she shouted, President, I'll take responsibility. No, I'll do my best. Yuan Shinji said, a representative from the department will be calling you soon. Then he thought to himself, seems like her affections for me are genuine, even if only slightly. Hopefully this will speed up the tests. I need to save some energy to restore the Ryu train back to normal. But we don't know if marriage is the final step of this procedure, or if it will lead to other consequences. To unlock the rest of its rules and break the limits of the fallen Cupid. If Qian Yubai is uncooperative, this will be troublesome. A few moments later, at the Ming Lake Apartments residence of Yuan Shinji, Qian Yubai stood in front of Yuan Shinji's door and thought to herself, do your best, Qian Yubai. We've already covered everything important. You can do this. She knocked on the door. Immediately, Yuan Shinji opened it and asked, Bye? Qian Yubai blushed, looking away as she muttered, President? 2, I'm here to see you. Yuan Shinji smirked while eyeing Qian Yubai and her attractive figure. The next night at the amusement park, Yuan Shinji and Qian Yubai sat on a bench while Hong Yin watched through a surveillance camera. Hong Yin commented, This is quite something coming from this intellectual circle. That little lass is really invested in this ghost. It's like he's a completely different person. Mr. Xiang nodded. Yes, and Mr. Ghost has shown an improved condition and blood sample compared to the last 2 tests. Hong Yin grinned. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get them married. Mr. Xiang responded. I will inform her at once and proceed swiftly. I've arranged for them to be married tomorrow. Hong Yin stretched his arms as he stood up and said to Mr. Xiang, Keep an eye on them. I'm not interested in these kinds of celebrity shows. Get ready to drag them over for marriage registration. Mr. Xiang saluted. Yes, leave it to me. Hong Yin glanced back and warned, And don't tell Chief Qingji that I've been slacking, understood? Mr. Xiang broke into a nervous sweat and gave an okay sign. A few moments later, Qian Yubai hesitated before speaking. Press. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. Yuan Shinji placed a reassuring hand on her soft shoulders. What is it? Qian Yubai bit her lip, hesitating. Then suddenly she knelt on one knee, opened a small box containing a ring, and declared, Please, marry me. The ring sparkled under the lights. Yuan Shinji blinked in shock, sweating. Meanwhile, Sanji and Zoro watched closely from afar. Qian Yubai, blushing furiously, trembled as her thoughts scrambled. Yuan Shinji, still processing, asked, Wait, can you repeat that? Qian Yubai took a deep breath and shouted, I said, let's get married. Fireworks exploded in the background. Yuan Shinji responded, We'll get the certificate ready by tomorrow. The crowd erupted in joy, cheering, Woo! Our brave girl is dashing ahead for love. Qian Yubai, overwhelmed, felt dizzy. Yuan Shinji asked, What do your parents think about this? Blushing intensely, Qian Yubai answered, They already know about our relationship, and we have their blessings. Gathering her courage, she extended the ring toward him and asked, So, press, can we? The supporters began chanting, Say yes, say yes. Yuan Shinji smiled, gladly. He took the ring and placed it on his finger. Test results: death resistance, 80% acceptance rate, 10% new hint unlocked. Even if you were to encounter your true love, you'll definitely be punished if you abandon her immediately. In the control room, Hong Yin nodded. Okay, the process is normal. How are you guys preparing? Nothing will go wrong, right? An officer responded. We have completed all the formalities and set up the temporary special registration office. The special item, temporary contract, is also ready. As the name suggests, the temporary contract rule allows any agreement under any relationship conditions to take effect, but it has a limited validity period. The marriage certificate and red seal created by the temporary contract hold the same power as an actual marriage contract. The validity period of the marriage is 7 days, which coincides with the death cycle after the ghost enters Cupid's rule. But why would Mr. Ghost go to such lengths? Shadow is clearly a great helper and loves him deeply. For Mr. Ghost, getting married is both beneficial and harmless. As she sketched Yuan Shinji and Qian Yubai getting intimate in bed inside her notebook, she whispered, Shadow is cute too. Hong Yin looked over her shoulder just as the officer hurriedly hid the notebook, looking away with a deep blush. Hong Yin smirked and said, These are the ghost's own opinions when he's awake. Why do you care so much? Why ask for reasons when you've already done it? Then he muttered to himself, but that ghost is either an extreme narcissist or a total loser. He snickered and added, He doesn't even seem like a heterosexual at all. Better stay away from him. The next morning at the temporary special marriage registry, Hong Yin cheerfully greeted, Hey, welcome newcomer. Chief Qingji nodded and said, Welcome. Hong Yin gestured forward, This way, please. As Yuan Shinji entered, he thought to himself, These two people look a little familiar. Hong Yin continued, "Wait a moment, please sign your names here, and then we will issue you a certificate." Chief Qingji handed over the documents. "Here, sign." As Yuan Shinji signed the certificate, Hong Yin instructed, "Please stand in front of the machine to scan and take a photo." Yuan Shinji observed the machine silently, while Qian Yubai blushed beside him. He asked, "What is this machine used for? Is this required for marriage registration?" Chief Qingji explained, "Yes, this is our newly developed rapid certificate-making machine." Hong Yin added, After taking the photos, the marriage certificate can be produced quickly without any harm." As Yuan Shinji and Qian Yubai looked at the camera, the machine started taking their picture. Moments later, the certificate was printed and spat out of the machine. The system displayed death avoidance progress, 99% containment progress, 40%. Yuan Shinji suddenly felt something shift within him. His eyes regained their original color. He muttered, "Thank you so much for saving me from making mistakes." Hong Yin, Qian Yubai, and Chief Qingji stared at him in shock. Qian Yubai gasped, "President, are you recovered?" Hong Yin exclaimed, "Wow." Yuan Shinji sighed, "Not quite." As he placed the marriage certificate down, he asked, "How long is this thing valid for?" Chief Qingji responded, 7 days. Yuan Shinji thought silently, then spoke, "If I break the contract now, I will die immediately. Moreover, the significance of this contract is that it has helped me extend my life for 7 more days." Qian Yubai quickly offered, "Got it. I still have coins to use." She eagerly continued, "If you need it, President." Yuan Shinji interrupted, "No, since there is no immediate danger to my life, there's no need to use it." Qian Yubai nodded, Okay. But as she thought to herself, she murmured, "President, it may not even take 7 days to resolve this matter." Then, scolding herself internally, she whispered, "Qian Yubai, you idiot. Why are you expecting anything from this fake marriage?" Yuan Shinji glanced behind him, exhaled, and said, "I'll go ahead. If you want to continue listening, you can follow me." Hong Yin, peeking playfully, snickered, "Still, it's not necessary, haha." Meanwhile, Chief Qingji remained focused on her phone. A few moments later, outside, Yuan Shinji turned to Qian Yubai and said, "I'm sorry. I'm only now completely sure that you have romantic feelings for me." Qian Yubai, startled, stammered, I. She bit her lips before finally asking, "If I really confess to you, would you accept?" Yuan Shinji looked at her silently, then closed his eyes. "I won't," he continued. "This is my first and last advice. As long as you still want to live a normal life, just give up this idea and don't indulge in unnecessary emotions." Then he turned and walked away. Qian Yubai clutched her chest as she stood there, thinking in silence. Yuan Shinji glanced back at her before saying, "If you can't figure it out, and this matter bothers you, you can choose to leave the company. I won't stop you." Qian Yubai responded softly, "I see." Suddenly, the pendant spoke. "Dear sir, there is a notice regarding the 8th season channel. Would you like to check it?" Yuan Shinji narrowed his eyes. "Kisaragi train? Aren't you already restricted by the rules and props of the special department?" Then he commanded, "Check." The message appeared. Due to an attack from an unknown entity, the possibility of maintaining control over the Kisaragi train has decreased. The contract between the train and the crew is expected to expire soon. The crew is about to lose control because the train itself is being restrained by an unknown force. Yuan Shinji asked, "When will complete loss of control occur?" Meanwhile, at the Kisaragi train, restricted areas, officers inspected the train from the outside. One officer suddenly shouted, "Something is wrong with the Kisaragi train. Quickly switch to emergency combat mode." He stepped outside and prepared for battle. However, as he looked ahead, terror overtook him. Outside the train, people lay motionless, trapped in eternal sleep. Blood dripped onto the ground. A dark shadow loomed behind him. As he trembled, he slowly turned around. His eyes widened in horror. And just like his fallen comrades, he too fell into an eternal sleep. Detective Conan said, "The scheming frog keeps touching your belly," as he rode on Richard Moore's shoulder. As Ryuk took their selfie, he exclaimed, "Yeah, baby." At the CXXP comic exhibition parade, a cosplayer in the distance remarked, "Wow, someone is cosplaying as Conan. Looks like someone is going to die nearby." A boy with glasses commented, "Wow, what an amazing guy, I was almost scared." His companion added, "This special effects makeup is so realistic." "But what movie is this from?" Nell speculated, "It should be OC. It's a bit like Mr. Yi's style." Sasuke sighed, "I want to go stamp collecting with the big guys, but I'm always a little afraid. They look so cool and it gives me chills." Nell urged, "Go quickly, aren't you an E-person?" A sudden encounter out of nowhere, a monster suddenly addressed Sasuke saying, "Excuse me." Shocked, Sasuke stammered, "Wow." The monster then asked, Have you seen my head? Sasuke trembled in fear, exclaiming, "Ah!" Then, trying to act composed, he said, "Oh, I already guessed it. Your head is on your waist." The monster replied, "My head is here, thank you." Sasuke nervously responded, "It's nothing. I'm just cooperating with you." As a token of gratitude, the monster said, "As a thank you, I'll give you this head." Without warning, he grabbed Sasuke's head and took it off. Shock and horror, Vegeta, Naruto, and Zoro stood frozen in shock. Naruto, in disbelief, shouted, "Ah, what the hell?" Nell gasped, "So cool. Xiao Xiao, did you guys rehearse this? A trick?" The monster then placed his head on Sasuke's body, and Nell continued, "Why haven't I heard you mention this? It's too weird to do this at a comic convention." Suddenly, Sasuke's head began to float. As Kakashi and the others looked on, the disembodied head drifted higher and higher. A few moments later, with the full moon shining in the sky, Sasuke's head covered the moon. Inosuke panicked, screaming, "Ah! Something's wrong! Run! Killing!" A man with bunny ears scoffed, "Why are you panicking? This is a busy downtown area. I've seen a lot of scary tricks like this." "I'm really new," Tao Pai Pai muttered. "But this balloon, it really messes with your sanity." Elsewhere, a lady clerk assisted Hong Yin, saying, "Looking forward to your next visit." Hong Yin chuckled. A child nearby pointed at the sky, exclaiming, "Wow, what a big balloon!" Flying high, Hong Yin, confused, looked at her and said, Deidara grinned. "Look, seniors, it's art." Pain simply nodded. Still puzzled, Hong Yin muttered to himself, "Balloon?" Looking up at the sky, his eyes widened in shock. "Holy shit, what the hell is this? It's weird." Suddenly, he felt a presence. His grip loosened, and the toys he had bought fell to the ground. Without hesitation, he ran away. A little girl watched in confusion and asked, "Mom, this uncle is so weird." Her mother hushed her. "Baby, don't talk nonsense." As the girl glanced behind her, she noticed another little girl staring at Hong Yin's bag of toys. The first girl picked up a toy and asked, "This, you?" The second girl shook her head and replied, "No, it was dropped by an uncle." Pointing at an alley, she added, "He went over there." Suddenly, the first girl ran in that direction. The second girl murmured, "Mom, my sister's skirt is so beautiful." Her mother stiffened. "Baby, who were you talking to just now?" The daughter looked around confused. "Where is my sister?" And at Zhang City Special Department, Section Chief Kang Ping reported, "According to ground control, this black and white girl with distinct features once appeared mysteriously in the Far East Island area." Chief Ching Zi nodded. "The initial judgment is that she only kills supervisors, or, in other words, people with spiritual power in their bodies." Kang Ping continued, "According to the autopsy report, some of the supervisors who died at the temporary observation point of the Kisaragi train perished due to the riot of spiritual energy in their bodies." Qingji confirmed, "Yes, and all these dead people looked into the eyes of this monster." Monitoring the situation in monitoring area. Zone 04, Kang Ping inquired, "How about red sound?" Qingji replied, "The man was smart enough to run away." Kang Ping considered the worst-case scenario. He still has the ability to take over someone else's death. Like Aokiji, you and I will organize our own teams and monitor in real time. While avoiding the black and white girl's influence, we must limit the chaos as much as possible. Removing his coat, he added, "Despite the difficulties, we must isolate the crowd and prioritize containment." Qingji adjusted her monocle and asked, "Do you want to assign a ghost?" Kang Ping responded, "Ghost has always been keen on gathering information. His primary target must be Cupid." Yuan Shinji's next move, meanwhile, Yuan Shinji leaped swiftly through the night, landing atop a building. He pulled out his notebook and muttered to himself, "This direction, Jiangxi University?" He smirked. "Oh, it is indeed one of the best places for it to perform." In that case, holding his notebook, he continued, "Then combine the abilities of Xiaoyan and Xiaowei." A powerful aura radiated around him. Raising his hand, he declared, "Test the monitoring effect of the 5th level spiritual power." A beam of energy shot up into the sky. The underworld girl Xiao Ai opened her eyes, scanning her surroundings. At the same time, little eyes Xiao Yan awakened, his gaze sharp. Yuan Shinji gripped his book tightly. Concentration, Jiangxi University, and his pendant moved. Yuan Shinji noticed it and said, Found it?" He zoomed in on the university and saw Cupid shooting a guy from behind. The guy flinched. "Ugh!" He dropped to the floor and muttered, "Eh? What just happened? Do I have low blood sugar?" Cupid flew away, grinning. "Hey!" The boy shook his head. "Forget it. I'm going to be late for evening self-study." A girl pointed and said, "Mom, look, that's our dormitory." The boy bumped into the girl and exclaimed, no, sorry, The girl huffed, Suddenly, the boy's eyes widened as he saw the girl's mother. He instantly jumped toward her and exclaimed, "Oh!" The girl was shocked and shouted, "Classmate, what are you doing?" "Mom," Yuan Shinji muttered. "I'll go. Security, where is the security?" He touched his pendant and commanded, "Continue to watch other Cupid targets." Walking away, he took out his phone and said, "Also, I want to contact Kang Ping." Then he reported, "Chief, the headless has been restricted by the priest supervisor but only for 3 days. After 3 days." And he said to himself, all 19 monsters on the Kisaragi train have gotten off. The death toll is currently 212. Among them, the headless one has been restricted by the supervisory teacher 3 days. The black statue has been restrained by the overseer, the blind. And he said to himself, it was a bit unexpected that it happened so quickly. Yuan Shinji said to his phone, "Kang Ping?" Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "Ghost, are you tracking Cupid now? If you meet a woman dressed in black and white with a strange appearance, remember to avoid her." Yuan Shinji said, "Well, I had to box Cupid in and find out all its rules. What are your plans now?" Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "We can only prioritize limiting some of the weirdness now, and are currently collecting information on all the scattered weirdness." Yuan Shinji said, "I thought of a question." Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "What?" Yuan Shinji said, "Since they were brought by the moon train, is it possible that let them all get back on the Kisaragi train?" Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping silently listens. Yuan Shinji said, "Okay, let's not talk about this for now. I now want access to all student information at Jiangxi University. Cupid is in it." Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "No problem. I'll send you an internal permission address, and you can use it directly." Yuan Shinji said, "Thanks." Jiang City Special Department Section Chief Kang Ping said, "And what you just said." And he was silent. Yuan Shinji received a message, and he reads it saying, "The highest authority of the Public Security Department, Jiang City Police Department, Jiang City Armed Forces Department, Mong City Education Department, Jiangxi Chemical." Yuan Shinji said, "Small eyes. When monitoring in real time, match the information with the people." As he pushed the phone towards little eyes, Xiaoyan's eyes, and he said, "Slurp," as Yuan Shinji continues to push the phone, and he closed his eyes. Suddenly, he opens his eyes with multiple pupils and looks at all the informations. Yuan Shinji said to himself, "The situation is clear. Currently, Cupid is targeting 10 people, 5 men and 5 women. A total of 4 people have been affected, 2 men and 2 women. Regardless of age, the 4 affected individuals are only drawn to people of the opposite sex. It seems that Cupid's rules only work between opposite sexes." Yuan Shinji pressed on a file and said, "View details." And he said to himself, "This ability is really useful." A girl said, "Afraid. Afraid to be in the crowd. Messed up again. I'm so useless." A boy said, "Why doesn't anyone like me? Why doesn't anyone care about me?" Another boy said, "Why? Why is this happening?" A guy said, "No, I don't want it." Yuan Shinji said to himself, he is lonely, has a weak social circle, and lacks love. People on the margins of society who rarely receive attention, no, or those who have lost relatives, friends, or loved ones. As a man said on the floor, "Woo woo woo, my life is like a joke. No one is watching, and no one is laughing. No one would care about me even if I died. What's the difference between me and a grain of sand?" As Yuan Shinji silently observes, Yuan Shinji said, "It's truly a lonely and sad cry. But, in this world, every trace left by anyone can be found somewhere. Even your personality, your thoughts, and all your secrets may be known by someone, or something weird." As the moon smiled at Yuan Shinji said, "Knowing does not mean paying attention. And once you pay attention, it may not be a good thing. Is there any point in thinking so much?" And he said to himself, "But is this really the condition for being chosen by Cupid? No way. Is it strange that I also have this kind of temperament? What's more, Cupid has been found to have rules related to love." A boy falls to the ground and said, "I don't believe in love." Yuan Shinji said to himself, "Could it be that I have no vision for love?" As Yuan Shinji felt energy, and he said to himself, "I guess right?" as he grins. Yuan Shinji said, "I agree with this point. In this world, longing for love is not as important as longing to live." Fallen Cupid love rules unlocked. 90%. Yuan Shinji said, "I still feel this is quite difficult." As the Cupid roamed the university, Yuan Shinji called out, "Hey, long time no see." Cupid, confused, turned around and looked behind. Yuan Shinji smirked. "Don't you recognize me? After all, I am one of your victims. Don't be impatient, look at this." As Cupid prepared to shoot an arrow at Yuan Shinji, He held up his marriage certificate. Yuan Shinji said, "Your arrows have no effect on me now." Cupid gritted his teeth in anger and suddenly charged at Yuan Shinji, shouting, "Wow!" Yuan Shinji swiftly jumped away, tossing the marriage certificate. Cupid crashed into the ground. Yuan Shinji walked away unscathed. "I've already avoided death. You can't kill me." Catching the falling certificate, he added, "There's no point in destroying this marriage certificate. After all, the law still exists. These are your rules." He tucked it back into his coat. He then said, "I was very surprised because when I was on the Rizuki train, the surveillance camera in the cab showed that there was nothing strange in that area. How did you suddenly appear at the door of the nearest cabin?" Cupid's expression darkened, his rage intensifying. Yuan Shinji narrowed his eyes. "What's this?" Suddenly, he felt something tug at his heart and thought to himself, "Wait, is he trying to take back the connection between me and Chien Yubai?" Cupid grinned wickedly. "You still have this ability?" Yuan Shinji asked. Cupid's rule unlocked 100%. When Cupid deems you unsuitable for your marriage partner, he can exercise a veto. Yuan Shinji felt the rules shifting. "He's trying to sever my bond with Chien Yubai and shoot me again?" He coughed, feeling a sharp pain in his chest. Cough, cough. "But this is just what I wanted." He grinned. Pain surged through his body, and he cried out, "Ugh!" Cupid aimed his bow at Yuan Shinji and let out a mischievous giggle. "Hey!" The arrow flew straight toward Yuan Shinji, but suddenly, Cupid's eyes widened in shock. Yuan Shinji activated his skill, Gender Changer. System, male, female, male, female, female, male, male. Judgment invalid, judgment error. The arrow hesitated, then exploded. A few moments later, as the dust settled, Yuan Shinji stood silently. She exhaled sharply, her voice now feminine. Cupid stared in disbelief as Yuan Shinji transformed into a stunningly beautiful female version of himself. She smirked, pushing out her chest. "What? Never seen a gender reversal before?" Cupid, furious, shot another arrow. It struck Yuan Shinji right in the face, but she simply caught it with her teeth. "Oh, look at you," she murmured. Cupid's face turned pale. With a bite, Yuan Shinji snapped the arrow in half. "This is the consequence of failing to evolve your thinking. Has your path become so narrow? System, unable to determine gender, judgment invalid." Cupid screamed in terror and tried to flee. "Woo, woo, woo!" Yuan Shinji sighed in disappointment. "Ha!" With a swift motion, she lunged forward, appearing in front of Cupid in an instant. "Don't run! Shoot me another arrow!" she taunted, stabbing at him with his own arrow. Cupid shrieked in pain. "Phew!" Yuan Shinji called out, "Little eyes, Xiao Yan!" Xiao Yan's eyes gleamed as he grabbed Cupid's face and slammed him into the ground. Cupid howled in agony. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" As Xiao Yan began to consume Cupid, Yuan Shinji suddenly felt a strange sensation in her chest. "Huh?" she muttered as her body vibrated. Cupid's screams grew weaker. The notebook displayed contained the fallen Cupid love, unaware of the strange fragments scattered. Reward settlement. Legend points. Exceeded 3 million. Points of good and evil. 1,419,681, breaking through 1.4 million. Spiritual power, 999, 5th level remaining life. 100 days, a surge of energy flowed through Yuan Shinji. "Ah," she moaned, her chest pulsating and jiggling. Grinning, she whispered, The notebook updated. 999 5 jump, 1,000 plus level 6. You have ascended to the great level. Spiritual insight and perception abilities enhance. Closing her eyes, Yuan Shinji thought, "I feel there are more fragments." She opened them again. Her pupils elongated. Eve of Medusa acquired. Eye of Medusa, the slit eye combines the powers of a gender switcher and Cupid to influence the emotions and feelings of others. Yuan Shinji smirked. "It's finally over, Cupid." Her hair began to shorten, shifting back to her male form. He took out his phone. "Hello, Cupid has been contained." After a brief pause, he added, "Is that piece of paper of yours still legally binding? I want to go through the divorce procedures with Yingzi." Chief Qingji laughed. "Oh, that piece of paper? Just tear it up, but have you told Shadow that both of them need to be destroyed?" Yuan Shinji frowned. "No." Chief Qingji chuckled. "Ha ha, Shadow knew he was going to be sad again. Are boys nowadays so ignorant of romance?" Yuan Shinji scoffed. "And what about people who don't even care whether their colleagues live or die? You should focus on Hong Yin and his group before you lecture me." Chief Qingji fell silent. Suddenly, the nurse came in and said, "Aokiji-sama, please don't move." Yuan Shinji heard the nurse and thought to himself, "This is terrible. It seems that Lord Aokiji was almost killed by a monster." Chief Qingji chuckled and said, Haha, actually not quite. It's just that one of my legs was eaten. That's not so bad. The research department is helping me get a new leg so it won't hinder my movements. This time, the Rozuki train lost control and caused huge losses. Although we have regained control of 3 monsters, Yuan Shinji interjected, well, I have been on the Kisaragi train. I have an idea, but I'll just tell you first. You can think about it carefully before deciding whether to report it. Chief Qingji remained silent. Yuan Shinji continued, I think this approach is a bit risky. Is there a possibility that restricting the Kisaragi train caused it to lose certain functions, allowing the monsters to escape? Chief Qingji's eyes narrowed. You mean? I originally thought that the Kisaragi train had to be restricted, Yuan Shinji explained. But we've all seen the current situation. The state of Jiang City is far more dangerous now than when the Yui train was running. So what do you think? How about trying to remove the restrictions on the Kisaragi train? As Yuan Shinji ended the call, he thought to himself, although I have told Aokiji my guess, guiding the special department to lift the restrictions on the Kisaragi train, it is difficult to determine whether they will accept this plan. In addition, the anomaly on the Kisaragi train itself has not been resolved, but what needs to be done has been done. If they agree to this temporary measure, then next, they must find a rule prop that can form a subtle balance with the Ryu train. The goal is to let the Kisaragi train retain its function of controlling the weirdness and continue operations while remaining within the controllable range of the special department. This actually helps me alleviate the urgent problem. Little eyes, Xiaoyan opened his eyes. Yuan Shinji muttered to himself, get rid of her first. While the special division hasn't taken action yet, let's go and capture the scattered monsters. He took out the marriage certificate and burned it with his power before tossing it into the lake. Yet, the picture of Qian Yubai remained unburnt. A few moments later, at Qian Yubai's home, she didn't eat her dinner. Her mother, concerned, called out softly, baby. Qian Yubai, dressed in a delicate nightgown, hugged her oversized teddy bear on the sofa. She reassured her mother, don't worry too much about me. I'm just a little tired recently and have a lot on my mind. Suddenly, she felt something stir within her. She abruptly stood up and ran towards her room, saying, I'll go back to my room. Inside, she opened her drawer and looked at the marriage certificate, only to watch it slowly fade away. Her lips trembled as she whispered, disappeared, disappeared. Then with a bitter smile, she murmured to herself, as expected, you are the president. You solved Cupid so quickly. You don't need my help anymore. Her thoughts drifted back to her mission. She recalled Yuan Bo's playful voice. Come on, 6-legged granny, catch up. Qian Yubai had called out back then. This way, she sighed inwardly. It just so happens that I've been using up too much spiritual energy these days. Maybe I should take a break. Just then, her phone rang. She quickly grabbed it and gasped when she saw the message from the president. Are you asleep? I'm downstairs at your house. A few moments later, outside, Qian Yubai stepped out of her house in her elegant nightgown, the moonlight accentuating her delicate features. She smiled softly. President, you're here. Yuan Shinji looked at her for a moment before clearing his throat. Come, I have something to talk to you about. It will only take a little of your time. She stepped closer. Yes. Before she could say more, Yuan Shinji activated his ability and murmured, Eye of Medusa, erase this person's love feelings towards me. Qian Yubai's eyes momentarily lost focus as the power washed over her. Without another word, Yuan Shinji turned and walked away. From a distance, Qian Yubai's parents observed the scene. Her father sighed. Our daughter must have been rejected. I knew it. She's been distracted every day. Her mother nodded solemnly. It's better this way. A short pain is better than a long one. Even though he is Xiaobai's savior, deep down, I feel that they are not suitable for each other. Her father glanced at her. You think so too? Well, her mother said hesitantly, these people with special abilities are different from ordinary folks. Especially him. As Yuan Shinji walked away under the moonlight, her mother continued, even compared to Xiaobai's new friend, he doesn't seem to belong to the same world. Meanwhile, Qian Yubai remained frozen in place. The night breeze rustled the leaves around her. Then suddenly she blinked. She frowned slightly. What did the president tell me to do just now? She shook her head. It shouldn't be a big problem. I'll know when I go back and think about it. With that, she turned and walked back into her house. A few moments later, in her room, her diary suddenly flipped open. Inside, her own handwriting stared back at her. You used the coin to predict that the president would erase your memory. Please remember that you like the president very much. Keep this a secret. Elsewhere, a figure walked down a dimly lit hallway. They stopped in front of Yuan Shinji's apartment and pressed the doorbell. Inside, the underworld girls Xiao Ai, Little Eyes Xiao Yan, and Xiao Jun, who had been lounging on the sofa, all turned their heads toward the door. At the meeting between the Special Division and the United States Secret Agency, Simon slammed the table. The Deputy Director of the United States Secret Service said, "Chief Chang, I am good friends with the Dean of Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. If you are not feeling well, I can introduce you to him. If you mention my name, you can get a 50% discount." Hong Yin said in frustration, "You," as Chief Ching Ji held him back. She then said, "Are there any people here that you can afford to offend? The person in charge of the Special Division is under even more pressure than you, and naturally has a sharper tongue." She thought to herself, "Haha, when dealing with these strange and barbaric entities disguised in human skin, there's no need for courtesy before force. Do they understand? Just discuss them, and that's it." Hong Yin said, I think I heard your voice." Section Chief Kang Ping said, "You all have the information about the Kisaragi train. In short, as long as the United States does not agree to hand over the rule prop Mobius strip, we will immediately lift the restrictions on the Kisaragi train." Simon grinned in frustration. Section Chief Kang Ping continued, "This is a notification, not a proposal." Simon said, "We've loaned you our bio-barricade. The Mobius strip is still containing the two monsters within the United States." Section Chief Kang Ping replied, "There are more than 24 anomalies on the Kisaragi train. It can continue running at a fixed location and never stop. These strange entities can also be repackaged and sent to various countries again." Simon said angrily, "Chief Kang, you ridiculous, irrational." Section Chief Kang Ping said, "I have a button in my hand. As long as I press it, the Special Division will remove the biological barricades and resume the operation of the Royu train." As the others listened, Holt said, "Wait a minute. Chief Kang, don't you know that one of the monsters restrained by the Mobius strip is the powerful killer?" Holt, the director of the United States Secret Service, remembered. The powerful killer appeared in the United States 8 years ago. The reason for this code name is that it only kills the rich and powerful. Holt said, "So, this is a problem for all of us." As a pioneer of world security, the United States has bravely used the Mobius strip to confine it within its own capital. The International Special Section Director Cotton said, "Well, all countries need to work together to deal with these anomalies. I don't think Kang Ping intends to blame the mysterious bureau." Holt said, "If there is no way to perfectly restrain the powerful killer, the mysterious bureau will definitely reject Chief Kang Ping's threat. You might as well release the moon train and destroy the whole world." Section Chief Kang Ping, "I really want to be the first to take action." Section Chief Kang Ping remained silent. Cotton said, "Well, I have a solution." In Manga, the International Strange Department. The International Strange Department has a consumable rule prop called the Clone Ink Pad. It can clone other rule props with a 100% replication rate. As a consumable item, it depletes with each use and disappears once completely used up. More importantly, using rule props cloned by the Clone Ink Pad requires the sacrifice of 100 human lives. The cost is not small. Therefore, the method with the least loss and casualties is to use the Clone Ink Pad to duplicate 2 biological barricades. Passive rule props like biological barricades have a lower cost, and the user will only sustain injuries. Even with the additional effects of the Clone Ink Pad, modern medical technology can still heal those injuries. The Mobius strip was loaned to Jiangxi. Activating it would cost the lives of 5 supervisors, and there is no alternative method. Section Chief Kang Ping stood up and said, "I have no objections." Suddenly, they felt the ground shaking. A sexy lady with short hair exclaimed, "Hey, what happened? An earthquake?" Section Chief Kang Ping didn't even flinch and continued looking at his phone. On his phone, the screen displayed, warning the epicenter location has been updated. Location, Mount Kinabalu. In another scene, Yuan Shinji walked down the hallway and said to himself, "What just happened? Was that an earthquake?" Suddenly, he noticed someone and said, "Who are you?" The girl looked at him and waved, saying, "Shinji, what's wrong? Don't you recognize me?" Yuan Shinji thought to himself, "A year ago my original body's father remarried. He took a stepmother. However, both of them died in a plane crash while on their honeymoon. The newly formed family fell apart within a week, and the original owner of this body gave up on himself. Soon after, I took over this body. The woman in front of him should be the daughter brought by his stepmother. She had no blood relationship with the original owner of this body. As the family disbanded, the original owner naturally lost contact with her and could only call her sister. It was Liu Yaqi." She looked at Yuan Shinji, confused. Yuan Shinji glanced at her bag and thought, "What is she doing here?" He then said to her, I remember now, sister. He opened the door and asked, what's the matter with you? Lu Yaki said, it's vacation time, so I thought of coming to see you in advance. A few moments later, they entered. She said, what, not welcome? As she closed the door. Yuan Shinji looked at her and asked, what is this? A scar? Lu Yaki held her head. Yuan Shinji said, no, are you injured? Lu Yaki said, no, I just fell on the road. Yuan Shinji looked at her silently. Lu Yaki scratched her head and said, okay, I'll tell you the truth. Mom and Dad said they wanted to come see you. Oh, I promised them it would be a surprise, so I wanted to keep it a secret from you. Yuan Shinji looked back at her and asked, who are you talking about? Parents? Lu Yaki said, yeah, what's wrong? Yuan Shinji thought to himself, I remember that among the monsters that escaped from the Kisaragi train, one seemed to fit that description. What was it called? Tisk. With ordinary people around, it's not very convenient to check it directly, Liu Yaki said to him. But there's something else I'm concerned about. Do you know what's been happening recently? Little eyes Xiao Yan and Xiao Jun looked at them. Liu Yaki continued, I was actually worried that something had happened to you, so I suggested coming to see you. Yuan Shinji sat down and said, haunted? Well, things have been a little uneasy lately, but don't worry. Everything is fine here. Sit down. Little eyes Xiao Yan and Xiao Shun made a strategic retreat. Yuan Shinji asked, sister, what happened to you? Lu Yaki said, well, the place where Aji and I had dinner that day wasn't far from where the incident happened. Yuan Shinji, confused, asked, Aji? Lu Yaki replied, Aji, Wujixyong, is my boyfriend. Oh, I don't think I told you. That day, I wasn't feeling well, so I went home early. Aji accompanied me back. I saw the crazy push messages in the group while I was in the car, and I turned around and saw it. Maybe because I was too scared, I felt like something was wrong. She recalled seeing huge heads floating in the sky. Lu Yaki continued, Aji asked me what was wrong, but I felt that there was something off about him and the driver. I didn't dare say anything. Well, Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Lu Yaki had mental problems and seemed to have been affected by something strange in her brain. Originally, Yuan Shinji and Lu Yaki were barely familiar with each other, but she was able to find Yuan Shinji's address and show up unannounced with a suitcase? If she had been there, it would have been a bit troublesome to verify certain things. Yuan Shinji stood up and said, sister, you must be tired after coming all this way. You look exhausted. Go back to your room and rest. Your original room hasn't been vacated yet. Lu Yaki said, oh, okay. Yuan Shinji snapped his fingers, and Lu Yaki suddenly fell asleep. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, let's preview the weirdness first. You won't wake up until I call you. He held his pendant. Yuan Shinji muttered, in the list of weird entities originally controlled by the Kisaragi train, what was the name of the one she encountered? He used the book, and it said, the signing case is being unlocked. Please wait. Loading. The notebook displayed. Weird name, dead relatives type, cognitive weirdness. Unknown as of now. Humans trapped within the rules, and those with close relationships to them, will also be influenced by their deceased relatives and recognize their existence. Unknown as of now. Unknown as of now. Unknown as of now. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, can't I tell Liu Yaki the truth? If I do, will it violate the death rule? There was another strange thing. Can a deceased relative become two deceased persons at the same time? Yuan Shinji took out his phone and dialed a contact, Qingji. Yuan Shinji muttered, what happened? What could make the special department unable to answer the phone? He hung up. Incoming call. He answered, hello, Ching. Suddenly, someone called from outside. Hey, son, your sister didn't answer the phone, and we didn't bring our keys. Come on, open the door for us. They knocked on the door and said, I bought so many vegetables today, I can't carry them all. Yuan Shinji smirked and said, ha. He thought to himself, interesting. It was delivered to my door so quickly. Yuan Shinji said, okay, Dad. As he looked at the door, he opened it and thought to himself, the fun begins. His dad said, we're having a big dinner tonight. As they walked inside, his mother noticed something and said, ouch, why is Chiki lying on the sofa? Yuan Shinji said, I'll wake her up. He looked at them silently. Little eyes Xiao Yan and Xiao Jun observed from a distance. Yuan Shinji tapped Lu Yaki's shoulder and said, wake up, Mom and Dad are back. As the spell wore off, Lu Yaki opened her eyes and muttered, She sat up and asked, oh, where did they go? Why did they just come home? Yuan Shinji thought to himself the arrival of her deceased relatives had a profound impact on Lu Yaki's cognition, altering her perception. But it doesn't matter. because this is my home territory. Little Eyes Xiaoyan watched Mom and Dad as they prepared food in the kitchen. Little Eyes Xiaoyan continued to monitor them while Dad and Mom continued their tasks. Yuan Shinji's mom chopped the vegetables with intense precision. Then she stopped. She turned to Yuan Shinji and asked, "Hey Shinji." She glanced at Little Eyes Xiaoyan and said, "When did we install cameras in our home? Did you put them up?" Yuan Shinji's mother said, "When did we install cameras in our home? Did you put them up?" As she tried to reach Xiaoyan in the ceiling, Yuan Shinji silently observed. He said, "Chozo, there was a thief in the house while you were away. I wanted to catch the person as soon as possible, so I installed surveillance cameras in various places." His mother said, "Ah, that is too dangerous. Just keep installing them. Have taken them down. Can you install them yourself?" As Xiaoyan, terrified, cried out, "Iya! Iya!" Yuan Shinji said, "Well, I will start by putting one in my room." As he walked toward his room, he muttered to himself, "In a level of weirdness and restlessness from these two is also somewhat abnormal." Xiaoyan and Xiaojun peeked at Yuan Shinji. He added internally, "Especially the one with the small eyes." Xiaoyan trembled in fear, whispering, "Mom, Mom." And Yuan Shinji continued thinking, after experiencing many containment events and upgrades of the anomalies, I am actually so afraid of my deceased relatives." As the notebook stated, death, catastrophic vision in the gap. Tyrannical level upgraded. While they watched mother and father at the dining area, Yuan Shinji said to himself, "I do not even dare to watch television." Then he tossed Xiaoyan's eyes back. He said to Xiaoshun, "So, and you too?" Xiaoshun looked worried. Yuan Shinji asked, "What were you trying to do when I was under Cupid's influence?" Earlier, Xiaoyan had said to Xiaoai, "Fo and Hei and that unpalatable woman are almost finished. When do we begin?" Yuan Shinji responded, "Forget it, let us just do it." As the notebook recorded, ghosts call people who commit kidnapping and robbery. After answering the call, the receiver will hear his or her own death screams. A new start ringtone will be generated. The ringtone cannot be stopped or turned off. Once the ringing ends, the receiver will be killed by the ghost call. If the target person does not answer, Yuan Shinji said, "There is no point in keeping you around anyway." Xiaoshun trembled and said, "Ah, ah, ah." She ran toward Yuan Shinji crying, "Ah, ah." Suddenly, Xiaoai appeared and said, "Senior, let her go this time. She actually did not do anything." Yuan Shinji said, "Xiaoai, I think this deceased relative is not quite right." Xiaoshun cried, "Woo, woo, woo, woo." Xiaoai said, "Perhaps you can ask Cupid a question. I guess its origin or function might let it know something. Hengadari Seep might help you." Yuan Shinji asked, "You mean it might be related to him?" "Well, I think that although your parents do not have independent thought, they do seem to act with initiative. Yes, at first I thought I was dragged into this dead relative situation by Lu Yaki, but now I think both it and Cupid came to me on their own initiative," Xiaoai replied. "So let this guy spit Cupid out." Xiaoyan and Xiaoshun looked frustrated. Yuan Shinji said, "Sen is okay, do not worry." Suddenly, Yuan Shinji's mother called, "Shinji, let us eat." Yuan Shinji looked back and said, "Ta coming." Xiaoai said, "Please be careful. My rules cannot conflict with them directly for the time being." Yuan Shinji asked, "They?" Xiaoai said, Maybe it is them. I seem to sense two auras just now. I do not know if it was my misjudgment." A few moments later at the dining table, Yuan Shinji said to himself, "When the dish does not look flawless, but I do not know what they are making." Lu Yaki said, "Wow, it smells so good." Her eyes sparkled while looking at the food on the table. Yuan Shinji thought, if she eats the weird food, I do not know if her sister Lu Yaki can be saved. Their mother said, "Shinji, I remember you love eating beans. Come and try some." She took some beans and placed them on Yuan Shinji's rice bowl. Lu Yaki said, "Said I'm starting to pun," and suddenly, Yuan Shinji coughed. Lu Yaki stopped and asked, "What is wrong?" Yuan Shinji replied, "It is okay. I ate at school and now I cannot eat anymore." Suddenly the air became heavy as his mother and father stared at him silently. His father said, "Shinji, do you still have an issue with your aunt? I talked to you about it before." His mother added, "So now that you are full, do not force yourself." Yuan Shinji thought, playing the good cop and the bad cop? Is it just one person acting out a split personality, or are there two actual weirdos? We need to try again, in a different way. He said, "Sister, I bought some things. Can you come downstairs with me to get them?" Lu Yaki, confused, said, "Now?" I have not even had a bite of food yet, Yuan Shinji said. Liu Yaki replied. Well, that is fine too. Their father said, Hana and come back quickly. Liu Yaki added, Son, I am so hungry. Yuan Shinji thought, and no weird death rules involved. In that case, Sen, a few moments later at the stairwell, Liu Yaki said, hurry up, the food will get cold soon. Yuan Shinji said, When Liu Yaki? Liu Yaki asked, What are you doing calling me by my name? Yuan Shinji suddenly used his power and said, Wake up. Liu Yaki looked shocked and confused at Yuan Shinji, and he froze, and she saw flashes of memory from aircraft distortion, and the authority said, I am sorry, Miss Liu. Please grieve. Can't let us bid them farewell with heavy hearts. Liu Yaki dropped to the ground in shock. Yuan Shinji said, Inu Yaki, from now on, if you want to save your life, you must obey my instructions. Learn to deal with those two things in the room. Something happened to you. Liu Yaki, trembling in fear and crying, said, Yuan Shinji walked away and said, So if you want to try to survive, I have a task for you. Just treat them as normal parents and send them a message. Make up a suitable excuse to delay your time outside. A message was sent to the phone of their parents. Information from daughter. Yuan Shinji said, Sai will take you to a place, while their parents patiently waited at the dining table. At the Zhang City Public Security Department, Liu Yaki said, Bun Administration? Public Security Department? Suddenly Xu Jing came out and said, Oh my lord, you are here. Yuan Shinji said, Where are the people? Have you brought them here? Xu Jing replied, Already waiting for you. As she opened the door, Liu Yaki was shocked and confused. She froze. She saw her boyfriend and said, Aji, why are you here? Aji said, Oh. Yuan Shinji said to himself, Although I tested Liu Yaki's spiritual power and confirmed that she is an ordinary person. Xu Jing added, Wow, Mr. Ghost truly lives up to his reputation, Yuan Shinji said, but I always had a feeling something was wrong with her. Please ask someone from your special department to meet with me. Xu Jing said, Yes. And a few moments later, Yuan Shinji looked at a video and said, What is this? Xu Jing answered, Omar Information Department found Liu Yaki's police report from last month. She called the police and reported her boyfriend for domestic violence. Yuan Shinji, confused, said, Domestic violence? He remembered saying earlier, What is this? A scar? No, are you injured? Liu Yaki had said, Oh no, I just fell down on the road. Yuan Shinji said to himself, From this perspective, in addition to being cognitively affected by her deceased relatives, Liu Yaki's memories of non-family events are also confused and disorganized. Her behavior is rigid and dull, with occasional exaggerated emotional responses in an otherwise calm state. And it is even possible she is no longer alive? At the inquiry room, And you bring me and my boyfriend here for my parents' matter? Then said, almost, Do not be nervous, it is all standard procedure. Eiji said, What happened that required me to be called to the police station? So mysterious. You are Yaki's younger brother, correct? I remember you are still a student. What is going on? Why are you interrogating me? Yuan Shinji replied. Something happened to Liu Yaki, and you do not seem concerned about her safety at all. Aji said, Well, that is not the case. Liu Yaki looked down and remained silent. Yuan Shinji said, Enoyaki's mother, resurrected. Aji was shocked. He began to sweat and tremble, saying, What? I was with her mother before. No, she is dead. She is alive. She is dead. She is alive. She is dead. He trembled in fear and confusion. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, the impact of a deceased relative is limited, but it affects a person's close network of relationships. Since even unmarried people can be affected, it goes without saying that blood and collateral relatives are also susceptible. Yuan Shinji's pendant said, unlocking the rules of deceased relatives. The death of a relative will alter the perception of people within their relationship network. The stronger the familial bond, the deeper the influence. Yuan Shinji said to himself, What? Only half of it is unlocked? As for why it did not affect my cognition like Cupid did, only Liu Yaki and Wu Jiaxiong were affected. Could it be that my spiritual power level is too high? Then that brings us back to the question. Since the level of deceased relatives is not high, why is Xiaoyan so afraid? Is it the rules that define Xiaoyan as a family member, or is there truly another more powerful entity that is closely linked to him, or perhaps both? Liu Yaki said, Shinji, no, I will cooperate with you. Can you make Aji sober up? Aji, still shocked, said, Ed, alive, dead, alive. Yuan Shinji said, yes, I can. He thought to himself, did she lose a part of her memory? She still treats Wu Jiaxiong with care and affection. Yuan Shinji snapped his fingers. Aji reacted. Yuan Shinji said, do you remember? Aji continued to tremble and bit his lips. Then he said, so, are there really ghosts in this world? Liu Yaki said, well, Shinji said it is the same. Big balloon ghost we almost encountered last time. Yuan Shinji said, now that you have all recovered some of your memories, let us begin. I am Yuan Shinji, one of the officials in charge of handling supernatural events in Jiang City. You may call me Overseer. Originally, I summoned you here to ask for your cooperation in investigating the strange death of a relative incident. But based on your reactions, I have gathered a general understanding. And now, there is one more matter. Liu Yaki, your police report stated that Wu Jiaxiong physically assaulted you. But you both appear to have reconciled? AG, shocked and confused, stood up and said, what? How is that possible? Something must be wrong. Could it be that I, and we, are also being influenced by some ghost or supernatural force? We really never argued, let alone me beating Yaki. Liu Yaki said, it is possible. Please save us. This is all too strange, Yuan Shinji said, yet understood. In that case, I will arrange for your temporary accommodations. It just so happens, Liu Yaki, that you appear to be strangely immune to direct influence from your deceased relatives. Taro, what a hassle. But for your safety, and to solve this case in time, your residence will be monitored by the Public Security Department. Liu Yaki said. Said is okay, Aji said. Semi. Me too, Yuan Shinji said. Think so as well. Privacy is not as important as staying alive, right? Then fill out the consent form. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, sin is easy to cheat. 2 minutes later, Liu Yaki and Aji signed the papers. Liu Yaki suddenly looked at Yuan Shinji and was shocked. She said, Chwa. Yuan Shinji's voice changed and he asked, what is wrong? Liu Yaki said, Hugh, how come you? Yuan Shinji looked at his hands, now small, and thought, strange. When did it start? I did not even notice any major changes in my body. Did I suddenly become smaller? Yuan Shinji said, Titsken, and thought to himself, Senai did become smaller? As he dropped to the ground and ran away, he said, weirdness has a deeper impact on me. Please give me a set of clothes. An officer, shocked and confused, said, Shoko-sama? Shujing exclaimed, wow, so cute. Yuan Shinji became serious and said, what are you looking at? Why are you still standing there? Shujing replied, yes. And they ran away saying, Mr. Ghost is so amazing. Her partner asked, Officer Shujing, are you okay? Yuan Shinji said, Po, and the rest of you, go where you are supposed to go. Menanet. A few moments later, Yuan Shinji called Aokiji and said, hello, it is me. How is the progress over there? Gift from the first squad of the Public Security Department, minus a bunny and a teddy bear stuffed toy, presented by Officer Xu Jing, minus a huge lollipop, given by Officer Bai Xiaowei, minus a box of comics and an Ultraman figure. Chief Ching Ji said, our ghost, your voice, Yuan Shinji replied. Won't stop pretending, I know how efficient the Public Security Department's people are. Chief Ching Ji said, Dan, I did not think it through. I will not laugh at you anymore. Let us get back to business. To Mysterious Bureau's Donkey Kick Dog group agreed to exchange it for the Mobius strip. Yuan Shinji said, then I assume you all spent a lot of money as well. When will the deficit be covered? Chief Chingji replied. Sahaha, you ask me if there is meaning in my life as a worker. My goal is just to earn enough money. Short, they have been appeased. The Mobius strip involves too many complications and is still going through a complex process. Yuan Shinji said, so I can only continue handling my deceased relatives and wait for you to restart the moon train, correct? Chief Chingji answered, yes. We conducted multiple rounds of testing and calculations and only agreed to this plan after confirming your solution had a 99% success rate. Once activated, it should not fail, in theory. Yuan Shinji said, well, I can keep stalling them for now. It would be a great achievement to uncover all the rules. But you still owe me a favor. As Yuan Shinji opened Shujing's gift, Chief Chingji said, go ahead. Yuan Shinji said, through contact I can basically confirm that my deceased relative is not an isolated entity. Chief Ching-ji asked. Unfirmed? Yuan Shinji replied. Yes. There is other weirdness tied to it, so I am dealing with two strange rules now. One Chief Ching-ji said, Hongyin, Lao Kang, and I have all been too busy lately. Let me ask Sydney and some other familiar personnel from the special department to monitor the situation. It is easier to collaborate with people we already trust. In a different scene, Sherry sneezed, achoo, and said, Sorry, classmates. I might be a bit allergic lately. Then thought to herself, Tio, is Mr. Ghost in trouble again? Yuan Shinji said, T. As for my deceased relatives, I will now express myself freely. As he started munching on the huge lollipop, he silently tasted it. Then he said to himself, Industrial saccharin tastes terrible. He threw it in the bin. And a few moments later, Yuan Shinji returned to the apartment and gently opened the door. When Dad, I am back. Suddenly, Yuan Shinji was shocked as he looked at the sofa. His father was patiently waiting. Yuan Shinji said, Please turn on the light. It is so dark in the room and the lighting is poor. His dad, angry, said, What time is it? Why are you coming home so late? Yuan Shinji was shocked as his father raged with dark energy and said, the teacher told me you did not go to school today. Did you skip class? Yuan Shinji thought to himself, and after my body became smaller, my deceased relatives had an even stronger influence on me. Sen I did not feel my spiritual power weakening at the public security department. This may be due to the suppression from the rules tied to the deceased themselves. Is this really fair? How am I supposed to handle this when I already have two strange fragments? His father shouted, Ain't it such a young age you are not learning properly? Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Can I just act like I am? Then he asked aloud, Why do you not care about me? Aren't you going to ask me why I did not go to school? His father paused, confused. He turned on the lights and slowly approached Yuan Shinji. In a calm voice, he asked, What happened? Yuan Shinji, sweating and biting his lip, looked at his father. His father placed a firm hand on his shoulder and said, Tell me, and I will take care of it. Then in a deeper voice he added, The premise is that children cannot lie. Yuan Shinji lowered his gaze and said quietly, I was threatened by my sister's boyfriend. His father was visibly shocked and confused. He said, I understand, though I do not even know when Yaki got a boyfriend. I will ask her when she comes home next time. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Strangeness, do not investigate why Lu Yaki did not return home. Just because I mentioned Wu Jiexyong, you are trying to brush it off, and now you are not threatening me with death? Now that I have become a child, the restrictions from my deceased relatives should be even stronger. Even though I knew they were different pieces of chim, I still questioned whether they had minds of their own. Do they have their own thoughts on how the rules are carried out? This is getting interesting. Where should I start? From now on, I will stop avoiding and stop agreeing to their demands. I will confront them directly. No, I already refused to eat that weird food before, and it did not trigger the death rule. He recalled his father's words. Shinji, do you still have problems with your aunt? Sanai talked to you before. Then his mother said, So, now that you are full, do not force yourself. Suddenly she called out, Shinji, could you please bring me a bottle of soy sauce? Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Got it? He responded aloud, Tid okay, auntie. And again to himself, meet the deceased relative's request, but do not carry it out. As he took the money, and 15 minutes later, Yuan Shinji opened the door and said, See, I'm back. His mother slowly turned to look at him. He asked, What about the things? And Yuan Shinji scratched his head in shock and said, Ma. Sorry, auntie, I forgot. The money has been returned to you. He placed the money on the table. His mother looked at him in silence. She walked away and said, Then auntie can go buy it herself tomorrow. Just think of this money as pocket money for you. Yuan Shinji replied, That's okay. Thank you, auntie. Then the money vanished. Yuan Shinji suddenly rushed to his room, spat out blood, and said, Oh, poop! Kinship represents family affection. If you agree to the requests of your relatives but fail to fulfill them, they will feel sad. Yuan Shinji sat down in the corner and said, The rules were triggered as expected. But after triggering the killing pattern, I did not die. Is it because I have collected more strange fragments, or is it another upheaval on his part? Suddenly his phone rang. He answered. Hello, Sherry said. Oh, Mr. Ghost, I am Sydney. Please take a look at the surveillance footage. It is strange. My deceased relative is chatting with other people online. Normally. Yuan Shinji asked. Chatting? Sherry replied. Yes. From what I have observed, he is not imitating a human personality. He is actually communicating. As she stared at the weird bedroom, she asked, Do you think it has really evolved its own thinking? Yuan Shinji listened silently, then said, An previous weirdness and its method of disguising itself as a human were extremely clumsy. It had to guide humans into its rules in order to confuse them. But judging from the weird chat records of the deceased relatives, they have completely mastered human communication abilities. Sherry said, One Mr. Ghost, I have just reported this to the think tank. We hope you can communicate with your deceased relatives again. She was sweating, clearly worried. Yuan Shinji replied, Oh, no problem. But you should also stay calm and not panic every time you make a discovery. Sherry added, Apart from borrowing props, there is no other solution. Yes, I am sorry. Yuan Shinji peeked outside and said, It's okay, I am just venting. You continue your observation. He walked out and thought to himself, If you think about it, it is normal for them to evolve their own minds. After all, family affection is a type of emotion, and with emotion, thinking naturally arises. If you consider it carefully, all the weird phenomena that the human body hospital encountered afterward were related to him. They are similar to deceased relatives, which shows that thinking monsters are not necessarily frightening. If you collect them all, you may be able to unlock his secret. Oh, Yuan Shinji opened the door and slowly walked in. He said, Dad, I have something to discuss with you. His father continued to work at his computer, but then gently turned to look back at Yuan Shinji. Yuan Shinji's father said, What's wrong? Yuan Shinji adjusted his eyeglasses and replied, I want to move out. His father stood up, clearly confused. Yuan Shinji added, I'm not used to having strangers in my house. His father asked, What happened? Why do you say that so suddenly? Yuan Shinji replied, Because I don't want to endure it anymore. I thought about it carefully. You didn't ask for my opinion on remarriage, so I came here just to inform you. His father responded, You are not yet an adult and you have no money. How can you live outside? Yuan Shinji walked away and said, You don't have to worry about this. His father then said, Wait, I can divorce her. Yuan Shinji said to himself, His father continued, But not now. Actually, there is a secret behind my marriage to your aunt. Shinji, do you believe me? Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Unspeakable secret. This weirdo is really good at adapting to changing circumstances. If I didn't know he was weird, I would have almost believed him. But what does it mean? Is he preparing to split off from another weirdo? Wrong. He is guiding me. Say the death command it wants to hear. Do you believe me? As Yuan Shinji held his chest, he said, Give it a try. They were being watched from another room. Sherry said, Oh my God, I can't tell. This is a weird one. Her friend commented, Just like humans. Another person asked, Is Mr. Ghost really okay? Sherry replied, It's weird and unfathomable, but that's a ghost who uses infinite death as a means. All we can do now is to believe in him. Yuan Shinji said, I trust you. Sherry and her friend were shocked. Yuan Shinji felt something strange as his father stared at him. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Am I smaller again? No, I can't move. Besides, a weird heart left my body. Sherry shouted, Quick, contact the special section with the highest level of authority and activate emergency plan A. An officer responded, Already dialed. As Yuan Shinji opened his eyes, a doll said, Discovered. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, It turns out that the second weirdo is a doll. As Yuan Shinji had said earlier to Qian Yubai, Put on your clothes. I'm going to chase that thing. He thought to himself, This wild monster actually has thoughts? After evading my pursuit, this guy actually evolved more complex rules, making it difficult for the supervisor to figure out. Okay, we will collect monitoring information and conduct a behavioral investigation. Quickly have the Public Security Department notify all residents and confiscate all action figures and toys. It seems that it also amazed quite a few ordinary people. As for the complementarity of their rules, it is most likely one of his constituent rules. As Yuan Shinji's father trembled, Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Therefore the monster in front of you that triggered the rules is playing puppet. The other one is dead relative. Yuan Shinji's father trembled and drooled. Suddenly he ate the flour whole and said, Gulp! Yuan Shinji thought to himself, But it's not easy to restrict me. The system announced, Lifespan -1 day, 99 days remaining. Yuan Shinji thought, What we need to do now is to expose its identity. His father's chest suddenly glowed purple. Yuan Shinji's body exploded. He thought, according to the notebook monitoring, the special department tool Death Fillet is used to make you die in time. The special department's cooperation was quite quick this time. Yuan Shinji suddenly resurrected in his original body. His father was shocked. Yuan Shinji said, "Hey, that's about it for the performance." He raised his hand toward his father. Yuan Shinji said, "Give me back my things." As Yuan Shinji's eyes and little eyes Xiaoyan looked at his father said, "Gu he." Suddenly, his chest inflated. Yuan Shinji's heart burst out and he caught it. He said, "The monsters that I take in belong completely to me." Yuan Shinji puts back his heart and says, "Now, answer my question." As Yuan Shinji's father groaned in pain, "Ah!" Yuan Shinji said, "My father died a long time ago. Your true identity is actually weird, an actor pretending." As he was shocked, Yuan Shinji shouted, "Wait! Ahem!" Cough, he said to himself. "This is... You don't want me to continue talking?" Yuan Shinji then knelt to the ground and groaned in pain. His father, shocked, asked Shinji, "What's wrong with you?" Yuan Shinji thought to himself, "What happened?" As sweat poured down his face, he suddenly turned his small, glaring eyes toward his father and said, Cough. Cough. From the other room, Sherry exclaimed, "Why did Mr. Ghost vomit blood?" Yuan Shinji continued to cough violently. "Cough, cough, cough." Kang Ping said, "The rules for deceased relatives are too complicated and have been expanded. Now, they are becoming more and more human, and they have the means to deal with a ghost that tries to reveal its identity." The man wearing shades added, "It's so scary." Kang Ping continued, "The ghost is not dead, and the deceased relative will continue to act as the father. Immediately contact the emergency department and intervene." "Got it." Before the Kisaragi train restarts, you must ensure his safety. Yuan Shinji thought to himself, is this the new rule that evolved after it merged with dead relatives? It might also be that I only understand the rules for puppets, but not enough about the rules my deceased relatives follow. Plus, I avoided the original death rule of playing a puppet. Vomiting this much blood is the side effect of dodging death. And it also reminds me that revealing its identity now is useless. I just tried to use my ability to kill it directly, but it caused me to vomit blood again. Indeed, I didn't think of this. When I turned into a puppet just now, it didn't mimic my appearance. Yuan Shinji's father, trembling, took out his old phone and said, "Call. I'm calling for rescue." Yuan Shinji thought to himself, now, there is no other way except to peel off the two monsters. His father dialed 120 and called for help. He wiped the blood off Yuan Shinji's face. The medical team, suited in dirty clothes from outside, entered the apartment and carried Yuan Shinji out of the building. The doctor said to Yuan Shinji's father, "Dear family members, the ambulance space is limited. Please go to the hospital on your own." As Yuan Shinji was taken away in the ambulance, his father watched from inside. A lady said, "Mr. Ghost, if you are okay, we will have a video conference at the hospital later." Yuan Shinji sat up and said, "Special subjects? I'm fine. I just lost too much blood." The lady asked, "Can you handle the weirdness?" "No problem. By the way, there is one more thing that Lord Aokiji wanted to inform you of." As Yuan Shinji looked confused, the lady continued, "Among the cases reported by the Public Security Bureau of the neighboring city, there was the unidentified corpse case in the back hill at the East University of the Arts. Behind a university, a dog barked, 'Woof, woof, woof.' A man said, This is, well, it's a destroyed corpse, or rather human flesh." The dog whimpered, "Woo, woo." It sniffed the corpse and suddenly barked, "Woo, woof, woo, woof." The man said, "The special dog confirmed there is a lingering strange smell. We're preparing to hand the body over to the special department. We are conducting DNA big data screening." Yuan Shinji thought to himself, Dongshi Art University is Liu Yaki's school. Could it be? He then said aloud, "The imprisoned Liu Yaki is my sister, and her boyfriend. Is there anything unusual, or any sign of an escape attempt?" The lady replied, "No, they are all fine. Only..." As the two other officers fell silent, the lady added, "That Wu Jiaxiong seemed too relaxed. He knew we were watching, but he actually... Yuan Shinji asked, "What?" The lady replied, "While Liu Yaki was having dinner, he and other women." Wu Jiaxiong said to a girl, "Do you want to, at night?" The lady responded in anger, her fist trembling, "Bah, scumbag!" The Public Security Department only monitored the situation and did not stop it. However, apart from the cheating behavior, the two did not show any further strange changes. Yuan Shinji said, "I see. As for the nameless corpse you mentioned, you all can check Liu Yaki." The lady and his friend were shocked and said, Liu Yaki?" Yuan Shinji replied, "Yes." "Oh, and one more thing. At the Jiang City Traditional Chinese Medicine Hospital, In a private ward, Kong Ping said, I heard you were in trouble. Yuan Shinji said, yes. Now the two strange rules of dead relatives and playing dolls have merged. I want to find the key that can separate them. Yuan Shinji continued, so, I want to know if there was a doll on the plane when my father and aunt had the plane crash. Yuan Shinji remembered the tomb of his parents. The tomb read, migrant workers and shop fire. Kang Ping said, playing as a puppet. I remember that its spiritual pressure was very weak, the lowest level of weirdness. Yuan Shinji asked, are there any records for special subjects? Kong Ping replied, alas. Hong Yin killed the student who was played by the puppet at that time, but the student had died long ago. The puppet is good at changing and hiding, and the special division has been unable to find any trace of its spiritual pressure. The student's family still resents Hong Yin. Yes, Qian Yubai was almost harmed by this monster. Yuan Shinji said, gain the trust of humans and respond verbally, then they will be replaced by the puppet, and their bodies and minds will be taken over by the monster. This method of silently killing people and then replacing them is difficult for supervisors to track down. It is even more dangerous now. I asked the reception staff to check my home carefully after the deceased relative came to the hospital, but there are no dolls either. If this is the case, it is too confusing. Kong Ping said, in fact, the think tank has a plan. But they do not dare to propose it to you, so let me tell you. This solution is relatively straightforward, but I think you may not be able to accept it. We also have our concerns. Yuan Shinji said, you tell me about it first. Chief Qingji said since no matter dead relatives or playing puppets, they all come for the heart formed for you, the human hospital. Yuan Shinji was silent. Then he said, then the special departments can help you relocate the heart to another place. Kang Ping said, specialty medicine can help you relocate your heart to another location. Yuan Shinji said, I reject. Kang Ping was silent. Then he said, since we are in a cooperative relationship, it is better to maintain mutual trust. Yuan Shinji said, I can tell you, I can indeed use the weird heart, that is, the rules of the human hospital, to fight against the weirdness. In other words, there is not just one ability. But I hope as few people as possible know this news. Kang Ping said, it is natural that only core members know your abilities. He then said to himself, sure enough, ghosts can use the abilities of weird rules. He achieved results that humans had not been able to test for many years. Then, in the near future, the position of this section chief, no, even the position of the supervisor of the whole world, he is indeed the right one. Suddenly, Tianye knocked on the door. As he entered, he said, section chief. Kang Ping said, Tianye said to Yuan Shinji, Mr. Ghost, there were no dolls on the flight your father and stepmother took. It was not found before, after, or on the plane. Speaking of which, I thought of a similar incident involving the death of a relative, but Yuan Shinji said, but it is okay to say it. I remember that Mr. Tianye was not a talkative person before. Tianye scratched his head and said, haha, Mr. Ghost, you really flatter me too much. It is just that. White Cat was the first inspector who successfully escaped from the train after the appearance of the Kisaragi train. Bai Mao said to Tianye before, the weirdness on the Kisaragi train is just like this. Tianye replied, yes, you are right. Tianye said to Yuan Shinji, he said he met his dead mother in the car. I think that is what is weird, dead relative. Yuan Shinji said, you mean, the deceased relative at that time might still just be a deceased relative, no evolution, no rules for merging with role-playing doll. Tianye said, yes, that is right. Why did I not think of that? But we cannot question the White Cat anymore. It is said that the White Cat boarded the train again before the Kisaragi train was restricted. Then, he disappeared completely. Yuan Shinji said to himself, White Cat? Yes, the notebook once mentioned that there was such a person. But during his first 24 hours in the car, I could not see the whole picture. Under the noses of me and the special branch, he boarded the train and disappeared again? Weird, really weird. I have a bold idea. Yuan Shinji said, I have a humble request. I need permission to board the Kisaragi train and conduct an investigation. As Tianye and Kang Ping were silent, Kang Ping said, no problem, just be safe. A few moments later, Yuan Shinji said, Kisaragi. Kisaragi said, yes sir, welcome back to the train station. Yuan Shinji boarded the Kisaragi train as he said to himself, good thing Special Branch failed to install surveillance inside. Yuan Shinji said to Kisaragi, among the stewardesses you signed a contract with, was there a weird one called acting as a puppet? Kisaragi said, no sir. Yuan Shinji, confused, said to himself, no? As Yuan Shinji looked at the monitor, he said, "If I did not have the permission to investigate the in-car video recording of the supervisor named White Cat that day, I would tear up the archives of the Kisaragi train." As Kisaragi remained silent, he then said, "Sorry, sir, it is not within my rules to do this. But maybe I can take you back to that time." Yuan Shinji looked behind and said, "Oh, when did you acquire this ability?" Kisaragi said, Yuan Shinji took out his notebook and it said, "Kusugaki train has been supplemented with the rules of product hot blood." Kisaragi said, "Sir, I really do not know something about these two weirdos." Hiccup. It was them who took the initiative at some point. Hiccup. Yuan Shinji said, "So one of the weird ones is one-way ticket." As Yuan Shinji said to a girl inside before, "Hope you are doing well." Yuan Shinji said to Kisaragi, "There is another door, right? The special department will soon release you temporarily for a period of time. When the time comes, you can seize the opportunity yourself. Either break away from the rules or upgrade them and turn them into complementary rules for your benefit. As a monster created by me, it cannot be used by wild monster." Kisaragi said, "Yes, my lord." A few moments later, Yuan Shinji entered the carriage as he heard Bai Mao saying, "You say it! What method? Tell me now." As Yuan Shinji observes them from a distance, the boy says, "I want to borrow your body, sir. Is that okay?" Bai Mao suddenly becomes small and says, "Roar." Yuan Shinji says the puppet was hidden on the Kisaragi train like this. It directly replaced an inspector and dealt with him quietly. Bai Mao becomes a puppet. Yuan Shinji silently looks at him. Yuan Shinji notices someone in the train and says to himself, "Wait, Wu Jiexong? He is here too?" Wu Jiexong trembles like a little girl. Wu Jiexong then says, What should I do? The monster says, "Murder." Yuan Shinji's pendant glows. It says, "Come out." Yuan Shinji's phone suddenly rings. He says, Public Security Department? Yuan Shinji answers the phone and says, "Hello." Wu Jiexong trembles as a tall, headless ghost approaches him. An officer says to Yuan Shinji, "Mr. Ghost, the identity of the unidentified corpse has been confirmed. The findings are name, Liu Yaki, gender, female, identity file comparison, match degree, 99.99%. The comparison result shows it is Liu Yaki herself." Yuan Shinji says, "I understand. Call them to the interrogation room. I will be right there." The monster holds the head of a crying Wu Jiexong. Bai Mao suddenly stops the monster and points at his own head. A few moments later, at the hospital, Wu Jiexong says, "Please, is there any new situation?" At the inquiry room, Wu Jiexong says, "Yaki's parents." Yuan Shinji interrupts, "It is not Yaki's parents. It is you." 1 month ago, on the evening of the 4th, Yuan Shinji stands up and places his hand on Wu Jiexong's shoulder. He says, "What were you doing?" Wu Jiexong sweats and says, home." Yuan Shinji responds, "Oh, at home? Let us talk about it in detail." Wu Jiexong stammers, I. Yuan Shinji uses little eyes Xiaoyan and says, "Tell the truth. You cannot lie now." Yuan Shinji thinks to himself, it is really into the role. The puppet actually behaves according to the rules of ordinary people. Wu Jiexong says, "That night, I was at home while Yaki was away. I called some fun." Something emerges from Wu Jiexong's head. He continues, "But I did not expect that she would find out." He recalls the moment and says to Liu Yaki, darling. A red-haired attractive woman takes some money and runs away, while Liu Yaki pounds Wu Jiexong with anger. Wu Jiexong says, "But I only dealt with her because I failed. I still have a lot of things to do and cannot be affected by her." He made Liu Yaki sleep forever with a broken bottle. He then says, as he made Liu Yaki's limbs smaller in the kitchen. In the interrogation room, Liu Yaki says to Wu Jiexong, "You." Wu Jiexong trembles and cries, "What are you talking about? I do not understand." Yuan Shinji thinks to himself, after integrating the rules, the deceased relative indeed crashed. In this case, Yuan Shinji says, "Then you boarded the Kisaragi train, right? Playing doll, this pigskin is even more attractive than the white cat who is the supervisor." Yuan Shinji uses little eyes Xiaoyan on Wu Jiexong. He says, "You are not picky." Little eyes Xiaoyan's power surges through the room. His gaze locks onto Wu Jiexong. Wu Jiexong is silent. He turns to Yuan Shinji and says, "Found out." His face becomes that of a puppet. Yuan Shinji kicks the stuffing out of him, and he explodes. A doll emerges from his body. Yuan Shinji is shocked. The doll suddenly tries to flee again. Little Eyes Xiaoyan suddenly blocks the doll's path. The doll is startled. Yuan Shinji says, "Block containment." He shoots at the doll, but it is deflected. Yuan Shinji says to himself, not working? The doll looks back at Yuan Shinji and smiles like a demon. Haha. Yuan Shinji says, "Tis. Old tricks again." The doll manages to escape the interrogation room. Yuan Shinji thinks the aura before was doom level, but now there is no aura at all. In this way, even if obstacles are set up. The red-haired woman says, "Mr. Ghost, playing as a puppet, ran away. We will send someone to chase him immediately." Yuan Shinji replies, "No need. It can hide its power and is no different from an ordinary puppet. No power or rules or props can take effect on it. Do not send anyone to chase after it, and do not touch it easily if you find it. Although its fusion with the dead relative has been stripped away, the puppet has evolved. Now it will be easier for it to take over someone's identity." The woman asks, "Then we will?" Yuan Shinji replies, "If you find any trace of it, please find Aokiji Hongin and report to me. Next, let us deal with the single deceased relative first." Little Eyes Xiaoyan says to Yuan Shinji, "My lord, just wait for the Kisaragi train to start running again." Yuan Shinji said, "What if your plan fails and the deceased is not attracted to the car?" The seductive lady peered into the room and asked this. Yuan Shinji responded, "Even so, I still want to personally contain the monster that finds its way to my door." The pendant then announced, "Playing dolls rules self-dissolution. Weird dead relatives no longer have fusion rules." Yuan Shinji thought to himself, "I can feel that the pressure from my deceased relative has been reduced by half." He held Little Eyes Xiaoyan. Liu Yaki said, "Shinji." Yuan Shinji said, "Sister, shall we go home?" Thank you so much for watching. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to help me grow my channel. Your support means the world to me. Don't forget to leave a comment below. I love hearing from you. Let's keep the conversation going and get those analytics buzzing. Until next time, take care.